West here, reporting from Houston, Texas for Climate Desk. Now, one of the biggest uncertainties in climate science right now is the role of clouds. What better way to work that part out than flying right through them? That's what NASA scientists aboard this airplane think. Welcome to NASA's biggest airborne laboratory. You're coming with us today on an 8-hour NASA flight mission.
When you read these big IPCC climate assessments, what's the biggest uncertainty? There's two, right? The role of aerosols and clouds. Clouds is probably bigger than aerosols.
That is a piece of a puzzle that right now we are missing.
You can't get the models right if you don't understand the chemistry and the process.
Now we're being told we've got to get on. The doors are about to shut, so let's go aboard. Every time you turn on the weather, every time you hear a climate change prediction, that information has to come from somewhere. And it starts by getting sucked out of the air from planes like this.
So this mission is to particularly try to understand the emissions from the surface, so mostly biogenic emissions, so from trees and other plants.
Right now we're flying to our very first part of this experiment on the DC-8. Over Arkansas, there's a particularly pungent bouquet of emissions that scientists are interested in measuring.
Well, these emissions lead to both aerosols and to molecules that both destroy and create ozone. So these are very important things to understand for climate studies.
How it will manifest itself, it will be in more accurate and more reliable predictions.
So what we're doing is taking a series of flyovers, each at a different level of the atmosphere, scooping up those emissions, testing them, and hopefully scientists are going to see exactly what's in this column of air all the way up.
The data that we collect in one flight can keep busy 60 scientists and students for 3 years, 4 years. We're still studying data from data collected 20 years ago.
In fact, this particular mission today is its most heavily equipped in its nearly 30 years of service. Each one of these consoles here is a specially equipped scientific instrument designed to collect all sorts of different data in real time.
And this instrument here tracks the sun.
We're looking at mist chambers. They're used to strip soluble gases.
This black line is the CO2. It's about 390 ppm right now.
We're putting these filters in the bags that we've got the aerosols that we trapped out of a certain amount of air. And so we're sampling up here about 150 liters a minute.
That ultimately flows back into the operational models. It flows back into what goes on TV every day.
Anyway, I got to get this sample going.
You do it. It's a busy man at work. We can't let him rest. Well, get this. We've just spent 2 hours crisscrossing this one cloud formation. In, back out again, back in again.
Then they grow, and we track them as long as we can, and then we let it go.
Even one cloud can hold a host of answers to the mysteries of climate change.
The patterns of, where the clouds are, what type of clouds we see, what kind of weather systems they're associated with it, that'll all be shifting in a shifting climate, in a world with climate change.
Then the big spark is this, is when we actually get the meat on the grill. And then it will be some time to process it.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies. In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now.
Please.
Hey, what do you say, friends and neighbors, boys and girls? Great to see you today on this Thursday, October 15, 2 days now after the big Democratic debate, and that's still all everybody is talking about. And we're talking about it here with you on Free Speech TV, and that's nationwide and worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV, youtube.com/Tawker, TAWKR-TV. Look forward to hearing from you about Bernie, about Hillary, about any of the others at 866-55-PRESS. Yes, indeed. 2 days after the debate, the Hillary Clinton people are proudly claiming that she won that debate, walking away. She put in the best performance. I think she did, and that's what most journalists are saying. It's interesting, however, the focus groups across the country almost unanimously say that people in those focus groups say that Bernie Sanders won. Bernie certainly had a good night, and he's even had a better night now that the campaign tells us. Overnight, they raised almost $2 million after the debate. And by the way, CNN can crow a little bit too. They had over 15 million people watching the debate Tuesday night, which is a bigger audience than for any Democratic debate, primary debate in history. So everybody got a little juice there, except for Joe Biden. Joe Biden, who might have been hoping that Hillary would stumble, didn't get his wish, and now it looks less and less likely Joe Biden will jump into the race. As for Jim Webb and Lincoln Chafee and Martin O'Malley, nobody has heard from them since Tuesday night, and we probably will never hear from them again. That's the way it goes. That's what that debate was all about. That and a lot more we'll be talking about today. Good to have you with us at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine,
Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more?
How many more colleges?
How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan.
No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday.
It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
On your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Bernie rakes in $2 million after the debate. Doesn't matter who won or lost, who got the most money. Hey, hello, everybody. What do you say? Big Thursday. It is indeed Thursday, October 15. Here we go. Good to see you. The Bill Press Show. That's us. That's you. On your local progressive talk radio station. Early on a Thursday morning. On Free Speech TV early as well, and on our video stream, of course, on your electronic device, TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. You're listening, you're watching, you're ready to go, you're ready to tell us what you think about the issues. You know how to do it. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show, and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. 48 hours later, I guess the talk is still all about the debate, because it certainly set off ripples in that pond that has had its effect all across the country in the campaigns of certainly Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, and of course in the decision-making of Vice President Joe Biden. We'll be talking about all of that today from every different angle with our guest and our team here. You at home and here in the studio, Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson.
Hello, Bill.
Hello. What do you say? What do you say?
Happy Thursday.
Yeah. Ray Rogers. I gave you the phone number. She's the one you talk to. 866-55-PRESS. Cyprian Bolding. Here we are, looking at you. Thanks to Cyprian. Got us looking good today here on Free Speech TV and on TawkrTV. And the one thing you know about Bernie, if you, I noticed one thing. I think he's the only candidate, certainly the only one in the debate, who uses the phrase, "in my view." You know, do you notice he several times, I think probably 5 or 6 times on the night, he would say, "in my view," right? Which is a polite way of saying, I'm not saying this is the only way, but in my view, right?
That's an interesting way to put it, yeah.
IMHO, right? In my humble opinion. That's the,
wow.
That's the little, what do they call
shortened version, acronym, yeah.
They don't call them acronyms, is there?
We'll call it internet speak.
Yeah. Internet speak, I guess.
That's fine.
Right, IMH. It would be funny if Bernie said, IMHO. IMHO. But the other thing about Bernie is he knows his numbers, he knows his facts, he knows his stats. As Stephen Colbert pointed out last night, one thing you can count about Bernie is he'll give you the percentage right down to the point.
36%, 90%, 80%, 63%.
I would not want to split a check with Bernie Sanders. What is this? 5% of the people at this table are paying 40% of the tip, which should be 15%, 20% for good service, or 18.5% for a party of 6 or more. I am tired of the great majority of seltzer drinkers footing the bill for a small number of mimosa drinkers. Yes, I did take a bite of the fruit plate, but I was on record as against ordering it. The point is, this brunch is rigged. This brunch is rigged.
That's pretty good.
Can't you see Bernie doing that? Oh, yeah, all right. He'd figure it out, man. He'd have everybody paying his or her fair share.
You know it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know it.
Count on that. All right, indeed. What a lineup today. Susan Brown with us, and Susan Paige from USA Today. Senator Sherrod Brown is going to be here from the great state of Ohio a little bit later as well. We got lots coming up, and let's get to still what's the big fallout from the debate Tuesday night. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Yes, indeed. Just a couple of other stories making news. How about this decision in New York City? A huge move that will impact how you dine out in New York City. Danny Meyer, who owns 13 big restaurants in New York, announced yesterday that they are getting rid of tipping. No more tipping at Danny Meyer restaurants. Again, there are 13 restaurants there, all of them very well known in New York City. The way that this is going to go out, he says it's going to take about a year to go through all of the different restaurants that are owned there in New York. But what they're going to do is you will see menu prices go up. And he said you'll see them go up by as much as about 30%. But there's no tipping involved. You just pay your food, pay for your food. It all comes in one check, and then that's it. You don't. The tipping is eliminated.
And the wait staff will be paid more.
Right. That's part of the it's part of the 30% increase. I should say is that you're going to see the minimum wage go up for restaurant workers in New York City. So he's going to pay more and get rid of tipping.
By the way, this is great for Danny Meyer, whom I've met a couple of times. He's a great guy, phenomenal restaurants. And he's a real leader in the, Shake Shack is his, Union Square Cafe. A real leader in the eatery business, if you will, right? But most people don't realize that wait staff, there are two minimum wages.
Yes.
There's one for people who don't get tips, and then there's the tip minimum wage. It's like, what, $2.50 an hour or something?
Yeah, I think it's gone up to closer to $3, but it's not much at all.
No.
It's not much at all. All right, Bill. We've been talking about
I'm ready.
The standing desks.
Powerball? No?
The standing desks.
The standing desk, yeah.
Right? This has been something we've talked about for a while. There's a new study that came out from the University of Exeter that says, actually, it really doesn't matter if we sit or stand while we're working.
Wow.
Here's what it comes down to, though. Here's the point of the study.
I'm not surprised.
Well, you hear these things about, sitting down can take X amount of years off of your life if you spend 7 hours a day sitting down. The point of the study is, quote, any stationary posture where energy expenditure is low may be detrimental to health, be it sitting or standing. What they do point out is one thing that could actually be beneficial are these walking desks, the treadmill desks.
Just going to bring that
up. Right?
Yeah.
So their point is, whether you're just sitting there typing or standing there typing, it's equally bad for you.
Forget about it.
The point is, you need to be doing some activity while you work.
I don't think I could do the treadmill desk.
I've never done a treadmill desk.
No.
It's too much multitasking.
I don't think that I could pull it off.
I don't even like treadmill reading, which some people at the gym do.
I can't do it.
I just, if I'm exercising, I'm exercising. I need to read a book, read the newspaper at the same time.
I'm with you. The American League finished up their divisional series last night. Let's go to the games. The Royals taking on the Astros in the later game, and they crushed the Astros. Boy, Astro fan must be really feeling it. They were this close a couple nights ago to wrapping up that series when the Royals rallied to beat them. Last night it was 7-2. They go on to face the Toronto Blue Jays, who beat the Rangers last night in an unbelievable game. Seventh inning was one of the craziest innings of baseball I've ever seen. The inning itself took about an hour for one inning, filled with errors, filled with weird officiating. It was unbelievable. The Rangers had 3 dropped balls in a row that resulted in the bases being loaded. One guy ended up scoring, tied the game at 3. Then Batista comes up and absolutely annihilates a 3-run home run to make it 6-3, and that would be your final score. The Toronto Blue Jays winning at home against the Rangers 6-3. They go on to face the Royals. Mets and Dodgers face off tonight in Los Angeles.
One of them will play the Cubs.
One of them will play. Whoever wins tonight will play the Cubs.
Yeah. All right. We got it. Yes, indeed. Still getting your take on, now that it's had 24 hours or more to sink in about the debate. and what the impact is going to be on the Hillary campaign, on the Bernie Sanders campaign, and on Joe Biden's decision-making. First of all, clearly, big winner, it looks like, out of the debate was CNN, racking up 15.3 million viewers, far more than most people expected. You know, pardon me, Zeke Miller, who was in yesterday from Time Magazine, said he figured it'll be about 6 million. 15.3 is the largest number ever for any Democratic primary debate. The last biggest was in 2008 when Hillary and Barack Obama appeared on stage for the first time together, and that generated 10.3 million viewers on ABC. Imagine this, jumping up to 15.3. What was the why? I just think there was so much excitement about people had heard about Bernie, hadn't seen him. They knew Joe was thinking of coming in, and they wanted to see Hillary. She's very popular. How well Hillary would. That's all these things factored in. I think maybe most of it was this uncertainty about whether or not there would be a Biden, entry or something. People wanted to see, okay, let's check this out and see who's there.
They certainly built it up leading up to it. And I also think people, look, Hillary Clinton is a political supernova, right?
Yeah, she is.
She's had some stumbles with campaigning, but, she is a rock star on the Democratic side.
And Bernie's been getting all this attention. I'm sure a lot of people heard about Bernie, but have never seen him in action, right? And they said, hey, let's find out who this Bernie Sanders is all about. And on that score, was the other thing that's funny about the debate is there's this big split among commentators, journalists, the media, if you will, and focus groups. Most members of the media, almost everybody that I've talked to, and I've said the same thing. You heard me here yesterday say, Bernie Sanders had a good night. Hillary Clinton had a great night. And I think, and again, I'm a former high school debater, college debater. I coached debate in high school. So I look at who really scores on points and poise and dominates, and that was clearly Hillary Clinton. Not that Bernie did that bad, but Hillary's a polished debater. That's what the media said. The focus groups all say that Bernie won. Almost every one of them. The one on CNN, the one that Frank Luntz had on Fox, our friend Chris Kofinas had one out in Iowa. Yeah. Across the board, the focus groups say Bernie won. We heard from our friend Jim in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Was in that focus group. Said 90% of the people there said Bernie Sanders won the debate. So it's that real split. One thing Bernie can say is he certainly got a huge boost. His campaign is telling us that overnight they raised almost $2 million. What would be interesting for his campaign, because he made that pitch at the very end, he used his closing statement to say BernieSanders.com, average contribution $30, right? And a lot of people respond. It would be interesting to see how many of those who send in contributions had already given him money.
Yeah.
And said, okay, Bernie, man, we believe in you even more after tonight. Or how many were new people?
Absolutely. That's a good point.
So 866-55-PRESS. Again, let's talk about, your chance on the debate. But the big question I want to ask you is, what about Joe Biden? If there's anybody who I think, I just did my column for today. It'll be out a little bit later. That the man who lost the debate is the one who didn't even show up, who wasn't even there, and that was Joe Biden. Clearly, all this dragging out about, am I going to run? Am I not going to run? The Hamlet-like Joe Biden now. There's no doubt he was looking for Hillary to stumble. He was sitting up there at the Naval Observatory watching that debate, saying, okay, she's going to watch. She's going to be weak. She's going to be uncertain. She's going to make some big gaffe. And then the party's going to say to me, Joe, you've got to run. You've got to save the party because we can't have Bernie Sanders. We need somebody, establishment Democrat, to run. Well, guess what? She did so well. She had a knockout performance, right? certainly the best debate performance of her entire career.
Yeah.
And so the premise for Joe's campaign just suddenly went, it was like a big block of ice that was melting as the debate went on. And I think it would be very hard for him to make the decision to run after Tuesday night's debate. What is the rationale other than pure ego or pure ambition? But not that there's not a lot of that in politics or anything wrong with it if you use it for the right purposes. But I until this week, I would say I was sure Joe Biden was going to run. Today, I'm sure he's not going to run.
If you're a Biden fan,
and I am,
yeah, of course. But if you're a Biden fan and you're listening, I mean, I would love to hear what void Biden could fill at this point, because there were a lot of questions about Hillary, and there were a lot of questions about Bernie, and I think both of them
showed already
answered those questions in the debate. So I don't know what void Biden fills.
All right, you got the question, 866-55-PRESS. So let's hear your answers. We got Bernie, we got Hillary. Who needs Joe? 866-55-PRESS.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To
not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, Free Speech TV world, it's Mama and the Mooks here at the Stephanie Miller Show.
Hello. Good morning.
You know, Seinfeld was about nothing. I think the Stephanie Miller Show is about everything.
A little bit everything.
Yeah, a little
It's
bit.
kind of everything like thrown into a blender and we hit frappe.
Right.
With wine poured in.
Right. Senators, fart jokes, politics, pop culture, entertainment.
Drinking.
Drinking. Random stray thoughts. It's what all the hip kids are talking about.
Yep.
We have the smartest, funniest people in the country on this show, do we not?
We absolutely do.
Right?
And our sexy liberal army of callers call in every day to tell us all about it.
There you go. And some right-wingers that Travis particularly enjoys talking to.
They're my favorites.
Okay. You can watch us every weekday from 9 to noon Eastern or 6 to 9 Pacific, which is really early. But we still, we try to, we're still pulling in people like Rob Reiner, Lily Tomlin, Frangela, you name it. You can only get it here at the Stephanie Miller Show. Mama, Mooks, fancy celebrities.
And everything.
And fart jokes.
Free Speech TV.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go at 26 minutes after the hour, Thursday, October 15. Pressure building on Joe Biden, and maybe more, and any real reason for him to run might have disappeared Tuesday night, don't you think? 866-55-PRESS. Peter?
We're on Twitter at BP Show, Lots of comments on this. Joe is great, but the country needs Bernie Sanders, says Kip. Robbie Bright says, Tuesday ended any chance of a Joe Biden run. No way he could come out in support of TPP with such strong opposition from Hillary and Bernie.
Yeah, and it was pretty clear, not even Bernie went after Obama that much, that Hillary Clinton was, for the most part, saying, I mean, there were some differences. TPP is one of them. But still, they were talking in the sense, I think, of the Obama legacy and building on what Obama had accomplished.
That's a really good point. She absolutely put both hands around Barack Obama's administration and gave it a big hug.
Right.
On stage. Yeah.
Charleston. Peter, not your Charleston. How about Charleston, West Virginia?
Oh, wow.
The real Charleston. Here's Curtis. Hey, Curtis, what do you think?
Hey, Bill.
Hi.
Enjoy your show.
Well, thank you, man.
First-time caller.
All right. Welcome.
What I wanted to say was, regardless of who wins the nomination, I think the perfect shake-up for the Democrats would be Hillary and Bernie.
A lot of people have talked about that, the Hillary-Bernie ticket after the debate.
You know what?
I think that'd be perfect, because the worst Democrat is better than the best Republican.
Hey, you're my kind of Democrat, Curtis. I appreciate that. Good to hear from you, man. You see, it's very simple. You get a call and get that number. Give us a call, Curtis. Now that you've done it, you've broken in. Do it again. Love to hear from you. I was just thinking that would sort of be like Barack Obama turning to the Joe Biden, the older senator, to say, I want you to be my vice president. You got a little experience there.
Yeah.
Not quite the same with Hillary and Bernie, but I hadn't even thought about that. There you go.
It's an option. It's out there.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. How about it? It would be the first woman president and the first socialist vice president.
Right.
Democratic socialist, I should say. All right. More debate talk coming up.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I am your toilet, so how do you do? I take away your wee and the odd number 2. For a quiet moment, I'll always be there, bringing you troubles. You don't even have to care. Oh, think about the things you put me through. Things you put me through that I've been through you. Stuff from your body I'll happily take. Liquid or solid, whatever you make. When you think of all the things that I do, it's time to say thanks to your Lou. If I wasn't there anymore, you can only imagine disaster. I am a lifesaver, and that is not a lie. Where I don't exist, thousands die. So next time you have to do a poo or a wee, thank the sanitary saints that you have me. thanks to your Lou. La 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 la. La 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 la. It's time to say thank you to your Lou.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
Maybe not as loud as Donald Trump, but he's a hell of a lot smarter. This is your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election, The Bill Press Show.
All right, here we go now, 33 minutes after the hour, The Bill Press Show. Live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. In our studio on Capitol Hill, where we're brought to you today by the International Association of the 5 unions together, sheet metal, air, rail, and transportation workers. That's 4, I guess. The good men and women of the SMART Union, put them all together, SMART Union, giving a fair day's work for a fair day's pay under President Joseph Sellers. Get more information at their website, smart-union.org. Yes, talking about what the debate Tuesday as part of the fallout, what it means for Joe Biden, more likely or less likely for him to run. What do you say? Let's go out to Mike. Mike in Kansas City.
Good morning.
Hey, by the way, go Royals, huh?
Congrats to the Royals. Right. We're feeling royally blue today.
Okay, great.
What I was going to say is just pretty short and sweet. The silent majority is so passé. I think what we're seeing is Bernie has awakened a sleeping giant called progressivism in this country, and that's basically what I want to say.
Well, thank you. Yeah, Mike, I agree with you. And he really has. I mean, all this talk about, that first question, are you a socialist? Are you a capitalist? No. I think Bernie ought to say, listen, I'm a progressive. I've always been a progressive. I fight for progressive values. I'm running for president to push the progressive agenda. And by the way, he has succeeded already. Win or lose, he has already succeeded
absolutely.
In that mission. Mission accomplished. When you've got Hillary Clinton flipping on TPP, now she said it was a gold standard, now she says it's bad. When you had Hillary Clinton, who said, it looks like we're going to approve the Keystone Pipeline when she was as Secretary of State, now she's opposed to it. And, she's always been pretty good on the issues, but not as good as Bernie. But she is coming around on so many issue after issue after issue that Bernie Sanders has raised. He's the king of progressives as far as I'm concerned, and he is having a hell of an impact, getting a hell of a reception around the country. I think Mike is right. He's awakened the sleeping progressive giant, if you will. There's a little bit of other breaking news we want to bring up to date on this morning. First, on the political front, we haven't talked much about what's happening on the Republican side, but if you thought Donald Trump had gone away, if you believe some of the stories last week that Donald Trump had started to fade and he was going to, I mean, people even told me he's going to drop out before Iowa. That's ridiculous. And, there's a new poll out today in 2 of the battleground states coming up, wherein Donald Trump still with impressive leads in Nevada. He is ahead of Ben Carson by 38 to 22.
It's a big lead.
Big lead. The others are single digits.
Yeah.
38 to 22, Trump, Carson. And in South Carolina, Donald Trump 36, Ben Carson 18. 36 to 8. Yeah, 18. Double
his lead.
Right.
Look.
So Donald is not going away.
There have been 5 or 6 different times that the press has said, well, this is Donald Trump's moment where he's going to start to fade away. And I don't buy any of it. I won't buy that Donald Trump is fading until Donald Trump actually fades.
Until he drops out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. Now, Donald Trump, of course, was not on stage Tuesday night, but he was trying to be part of the act by tweeting. He announced he was going to tweet during the Democratic debate. Now, we know that 15.3 million people watched the debate on CNN. How many were following Donald Trump's tweets? His campaign aide, Michael Cohen, says there were more or as many people following Donald Trump as watching on CNN. He was on Anderson Cooper last night.
And I would also say that if Donald Trump wasn't tweeting, I don't think they would even have the 15 million people viewing. Mm-hmm. More people were listening to Donald Trump's Twitter than they were listening to the debate.
That doesn't make any sense.
Almost 15 and a half million.
True. I mean, that's just not true.
Almost 15 and a half million viewers watched that debate. I thought it was a great debate. The contrast.
Were there 15 million people watching him on Twitter? I believe so.
I believe so. He is.
He's perfect for Trump.
He is so Trumpian, right? Yeah. That's like Donald Trump, who would look out at a crowd of maybe 300 and say, there are probably 15 million people here.
Yeah, right.
Right. So on that one bit of news, another bit of news today on the Benghazi front. I was surprised Benghazi didn't get more time in the debate Tuesday night, but at any rate, Hillary Clinton did point out make the point, which you knew she was going to, that this was all a political witch hunt, quoting Kevin McCarthy himself, who stepped in a little bit by making that admission on Sean Hannity a week or so ago.
Whoops.
Well, today there is a second member of Congress, Congressman Richard Hanna from upstate New York, Republican, who is, because Democrats have been saying this all along, a second Republican member of Congress who has come out and said, yes, the goal of this special Benghazi committee was just to humiliate and try to undermine Hillary Clinton's candidacy for president of the United States. Again, poor Richard Hanna will probably get pummeled by the conservatives, but he is making the same mistake that Kevin McCarthy made, which is the biggest mistake you could ever make in Washington, which is to tell the truth.
Yeah.
And so one more Republican has said, yeah, let's just admit it. It's all about politics. It's all about trying to bring
you can't hide it.
Hillary down. And then on another front, President Obama. This just broke, Peter, just a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah, I got the alert from the Washington Post. I'm just going to read directly from their news alert. In a major shift, Obama will keep 5,500 troops in Afghanistan into 2017. This decision will end the president's ambition to bring most U.S. forces home by the close of his presidency and an end to America's longest war. So he's going to leave office with those troops there in Afghanistan.
He got into office where we'd already been in Afghanistan like 5 years.
Yeah.
He will leave office. We've been in where we will have been in Afghanistan another 8 years. His goal was to get them all out by 2016, as you pointed out. But after the Taliban recently took the city of Kunduz, by the way, they're out of there now.
Yeah.
They left yesterday, which didn't get a lot of attention. But the president realizes our job is unfreaking believable. Our job is not done in Afghanistan, and he's going to leave 5,500 troops there. Forever? I mean, who knows?
You gotta
now
have
he's
some.
saying into 2017, but obviously that's going to be a decision for the next president. I got to tell you, my own feeling about this is there ain't no way there is ever going to be a stable central government in Afghanistan. We might as well accept that. The Russians learned it the hard ways. Genghis Khan learned it the hard way. We might as well. We have learned it, one would think, the hard way by now, but apparently not.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we've learned how.
This is a tribal society. This country has never in history had a strong central government, and the idea that by having American troops there we can make it happen is just not realistic. Kabul. I mean, I've never been there, but I have a friend who goes there often, a couple of times a year, goes back there, does computer work. The only reason the government in Kabul even survives, and the only territory they control is really like the city of Kabul, the capital. And the only reason they do that is because we have the American military there protecting them 24/7. The rest of the country is no man's land. It's just tribal warfare. So I think it really is a rat hole, and we're now putting more troops down there. 866-55-PRESS, you know the toll-free number. One other story, Susan Paige standing by from USA Today. One of the story I want to mention. We mentioned briefly yesterday, but this I think is so important that this decision by a jury out in Milwaukee to hold a gun store liable for selling a weapon to somebody who should not have been able to buy one. In this case, it was an 18-year-old kid, and a guy went in with the kid. He was too young to buy the gun. This guy goes in with the kid to the gun store. There's video of the guy filling out the paperwork for the kid who's standing alongside of him. He buys the gun. The kid walks out with the gun. A week later, he shot 2 cops with it. And the jury has said that gun shop is responsible because they should have known what was going on there, and they should not have sold him that gun, which I think is a huge decision. And it sends, boy, that's a shot across the bow of other gun shops and gun manufacturers.
This changes a lot.
The people who sell the guns and the people who make the guns, this could be the beginning of the end for them in terms of being liable for the deaths of people at the hands of from the guns that they either sold or manufactured. Susan Paige is a Washington bureau chief for USA Today. She was in Las Vegas, and she'll tell us all about it when we come back.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts. Stop the wrecks.
How I've been affected by gun violence over the years is through deaths of friends and family members and associates.
When I was 5 years old, I was held at gunpoint in a home invasion.
I've gone to the juvenile detention centers, and I've met dozens of young kids, babies really, who have been affected by gun violence.
Directly, I've lost a few friends, but I think why this touches my heart is having children of my own.
I've been at parties where, I had just left the party and, maybe 10, 15 minutes later, I heard that, somebody got shot and didn't make it.
There are a lot of people benefiting off of our pain, and it's time we do something.
I'm here to unload my investment because I think that it's important that we start kind of seeing where our money is going.
It's time to go to your financial advisor
and demand that there are no gun investments in your 401k.
Even if you don't have investments, you can still help spread the word.
This is something everyone can do.
So if you push your people that have 401ks, it might be your grandma, it might be your cousin, this effort can make a big impact.
I'm unloading for my loved ones that I lost.
I'm unloading for my 18-year-old self.
I'm unloading my 401k for the future of my children.
I'm unloading.
I'm unloading
for my family and their future.
I'm unloading so that my daughter can grow up in a safe, loving world.
Unload and join the movement.
Use hashtag I'm unloading to pledge your support for gun-free investing.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
13 minutes before the top of the hour here. Peter, I got to tell you, very, very exciting. I went to a book party at a private home in Washington the other night.
Oh, wow.
And I happened to be the home of a very famous journalist.
Oh, nice.
And I was able to go into the inner sanctuary, the library, which for a political junkie was like being in heaven.
Oh, man.
Every political book you can imagine, political games, political toys. And there at that desk, I saw that it was like seeing the desk where Lincoln wrote the Gettysburg Address. I saw the desk where Susan Paige makes her calls to the Bill Press Show every Thursday morning.
Oh, wow.
And she's there right now. I can picture her sitting at that desk. Susan Paige.
We're still cleaning up.
That's just the mess Bill made.
Yeah. And Susan is back from Las Vegas. Susan, man, you are on it, I'll tell you.
Well, Las Vegas, what a debate.
Yeah. What'd you think?
I thought Hillary Clinton did amazingly well. I mean, she really answered a lot of the not every question about her, but she had a really strong performance. She showed her experience. You know, she's done like 25 of these in 2008, and I thought after a very hard summer, I thought it was a very good night.
She was so comfortable on that stage, wasn't she? She really dominated.
She did. She did seem comfortable. She seemed to have a bit of a sense of humor. And, of course, Bernie Sanders did her a big, big favor.
Boy, did he ever.
With his line about, we're sick and tired of hearing about your emails.
Damn tired.
Damn emails.
Damn emails, right. Yeah. And, do you notice that subject was dropped like a hot potato right away, right?
Yeah.
Once he said that, Anderson never came back to it. Nobody else did.
Now, that won't happen if and when she's the nominee and Republicans are against her. We'll hear more about it. But it was an important moment for her.
15.3 million people watching that debate. Big score for CNN. And one of those watching, of course, was Vice President Joe Biden. What do you think he thought about it?
You know, I think that he was seeing a window close, or at least begin to close, because what's fueled support for him is the idea that there's this fatally flawed Democratic nominee coming down the pike, and she helped address those concerns. in the debate, and I think that just makes it a little harder for him to decide to jump in at this point.
Yeah, that was the premise for his coming in, right? That we didn't the Democratic Party, not certain about Bernie, right? Didn't have a strong front runner, right? And because Hillary was slipping, but boy, he didn't give her the opening. She did not give him the opening he might have been looking for.
And
for sure.
John Podesta, the chairman of Hillary Clinton's campaign in the spin room, said it was time for him to make a decision. That was kind of a switch, a willingness by the Clinton people to push Biden a little bit to say,
right.
hey, fish or cut bait.
Because before, it had always been, we'll give him all the time he wants, right?
Right.
In his own due time. And
I think other Democrats may feel that way, too, that the clock is ticking. It's late. The deadline for the New Hampshire filing for the New Hampshire primary ballot is expected to come up pretty shortly. It hasn't actually been set yet. Usually, it's at the end of October. So there are some actual things that will begin to happen that will make it impossible or very difficult for him to get the nomination if he doesn't make a decision pretty soon.
Yeah, I said earlier on the program, I thought before this week, I was sure he was going to run. Now I'm sure he's not going to run. So
I've never been sure either way. But I think you're right one way or the other. One of those things is going to be right.
Exactly. Susan Paige is also a host of Capital Download on WUSA 9 here in Washington D.C. at 8:30 a.m. And Susan, you've talked to one of the chief strategists for Bernie Sanders, Tad Devine.
We're going to be talking to Tad Devine about how he thinks his guy did in the debate and what he thinks is going to be. Tad Devine, a smart guy who's been involved in a lot of campaigns in the past.
Very smart guy. And they've got a little to crow about, right, in terms of look at the money that Bernie brought in.
And, I think he did, he certainly held the support of the progressives that he's inspired so much. I'm not sure he succeeded in kind of broadening that appeal, but he can certainly argue he had a good night.
Yeah, and when you go out and get almost $2 million in contributions overnight, people are responding.
Well, I know people are constantly sending you checks, though, so...
Yeah, that's what we were sending me checks.
After every show, I gather there are like checks that just kind of flow into your studios. Is that right?
From your lips to God's ears, right? No, but we were wondering earlier. It'd be interesting. Maybe you can ask Tad Devine if you talk to him again. Is how many of those checks that he got, that Bernie got, right, were repeat checks from small donors or new small donors coming in as a result of the debate?
Right, a big question. That's a great question. Although the fact that he's getting so many small donors is a real sign of strength in that he can go back to them and get more money down the road if he needs it.
Right. I have to ask you, we haven't talked even on the show much about the Republican side, but this new poll out today, Donald Trump way ahead of Ben Carson in both Nevada and South Carolina. So anybody thought that Donald Trump was going to go away? Ain't so, huh?
We have been so wrong.
Yes,
Donald
so many
Trump
times.
In every way, and he clearly has got some staying power. And have you noticed he's toned down his rhetoric, at least to some degree? And, his tweeting wasn't so outrageous during the debate. Yeah. He said Hillary had a pretty good night. This has been one of the most interesting political phenomena I've ever seen.
Yeah. I'm not sure I like the kinder, gentler Donald Trump, right?
I don't think Donald Trump supporters were like the kinder, gentler Donald Trump. I think they liked the bombastic Donald Trump.
Yeah, we wanted to be mean and nasty. It gives us more to talk about. Well, Susan, we'll let you get back to your cleanup job there, and we'll see you Sunday morning.
Hey, thanks, Phil.
Talk to you again next week. Thank you. The one and only great Susan Paige, host of Capital Download on WUSA 9 here in Washington, D.C. on Sunday mornings, 8:30, and Washington Bureau Chief of USA Today.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
We came here to Foster City where we're going to watch UC Berkeley, a University of California SWAT team, do a hostage rescue scenario. All personnel aware of the proper protection equipment. This includes all personnel identified as staff, role players, VIPs, and support staff. Face, eyes, throat, and drawing protection is mandatory and should be worn at all times by personnel directly involved in or near the scenario. Always check your mask prior to use to ensure there are no cracks and the mask is in safe working condition. Check with the water in there now? Yeah, go ahead. This is like some kind of chemical agent?
Yeah. Copy, we're ready. I'm gonna get shot. I already know it, dude. Fiends yelling at me.
Gentlemen, we have a chemical. We need to pull our person out. Get these guys out of here. Pull them out. Pull them out. Pull them out. Put your hands on your face. Put your hands on your face. Keep him covered.
Your head up. He's got a shotgun back there.
That's all right. Keep his hands up where we can.
Hands on your face.
Hands on your face.
On your face.
On your face.
Someone cover me. I got a holster up, bro.
Okay, pull him around the corner. Pick him up. Get him out of the building. Quickly. We've got this. Let's get that guy out of there. You, come towards us. Keep your hands on your face. Turn around. Face away from us. Back towards us. Quickly. Back up towards me. Quickly, quickly, quickly. Pull him out of the room.
We're exfilling, Billy.
Yes, we are exfilling.
It's actually around 92, 94. There was an attack on the chancellor at his residence, which is on campus.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And we realized at the time that we didn't have any resources to deal with that kind of threat when it took place.
Okay.
So, and I think about 15 years before, they had some kind of semblance of a SWAT team.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay.
they regenerated the idea of
I see.
activating a SWAT team.
And then since then, you guys have kind of branched out to doing what kind of stuff?
Well, since then, we train for everything. We train for every eventuality, barricaded subjects. Like I said, most of what we do is high-risk warrants.
Uh-huh. Okay. And it's something like it could be like a mugging kind of thing, just like on the street.
Depends.
Or
I mean, a mugging, but if it's armed, particularly.
Right, an armed mugging. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then obviously we're looking for training for anything else.
Yeah.
That we might be faced with,
Uh-huh.
and that's what's great about Urban Shield is we couldn't duplicate this on our own.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Peter. We just talked about Ben Carson, how he's trailing Donald Trump in the most recent polls. Here's a bit of breaking news. Ben Carson is putting his public campaign event schedule on hold.
Whoa.
He's going to stop campaigning for 2 weeks because he says he needs to go out and promote his book called A More Perfect Union, and he needs to catch up on fundraising events. It's an unorthodox way to campaign for president, but Ben Carson's a pretty unorthodox guy.
Yeah, I mean, use the book as a campaign tool.
Duh.
Right? Yeah, which I think is probably what he'll be doing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, Ben Carson, he's showing he's such an amateur.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I'm a Pistons fan. Their slogan was, "We come to work." That's what Detroit about. That's why they used it. It's a team thing. They won 2 championships, a team. There was no star. No mayor can come in here and be a star. It's a team thing. No governors can come in here and think you can do it by yourself. It's a team thing. You got communities. They got ideas too. The only thing wrong with Detroit, people have lost hope here. Residents, city workers, so much corruption. They lose hope. But I grew up here. I love this city. I think it can come back. I've been working for the city 24 and a half years. Within the last 10 years, we took 4 pay cuts and then an additional 10% wage cut. I've lost a home.
When you take all of the decisions out of the city of Detroit, all of us, then what do you have? Exactly what we got, a lot of problems. Every time the city seems to fall into a problem, it's always on the backs of us workers.
You wake up out of a dead sleep and you jump behind the wheel and take off driving and try to get everybody there safe, not knowing really what you're pulling up to. I'm not eligible for Social Security, so the pension is my sole sole salary at this point.
We've been in business here 39 years. We've seen a lot of changes in Detroit. The area was a lot of industry, a lot of city workers. It's getting very tough for the city workers. It's getting tough for us as a business people.
Response times are increasing because of the closing of companies, which takes your insurance rate through the roof. So all the things that affect us affect the citizens.
I worked for the city in different capacities for 29 years. I feel like an old jacket. They use me up and they throw me away. In my condition, nobody's gonna hire me. I'm 68 years old. Half the times, I can't get my blood pressure medicine. It's either feeding myself, blood pressure, or paying bills.
$754. By the time they take all the deductions for I have my car insurance, my house insurance, and my health insurance taken out. So the time they take all that, I'll get about $300 after they take all that out. I don't understand it. I can't see how the governor is allowing this to happen and what they're doing and they want to blame it all on the seniors. Not only the seniors, but the city workers. And we worked hard. I know I worked hard.
I've been in Detroit since 1946. I was 14 years old when I came in. I don't live large at all. I wish I could. I haven't opened the last time I've been shopping. I only get $1,100, and I'm 81 years old, and I need every penny that I can get and that I do get. And I'm very, very upset about the idea of them taking away my pensions that I worked 30 years for. I think it's terrible that they talk about Detroit like they do, because Detroit has been very good to me.
I have a lot of city workers coming in with their uniforms on, Detroit Water Department, Police Department, Fire Department. I get a lot of people, the Border Patrol come in. So if I lose that customer base, I'm going to be in a position where I might have to close down. If they take away their pensions, if they start cutting jobs, it's going to cut into a large percentage of not only our business, but other businesses that are in the city of Detroit. We're here. We've been here for 26 years. We're still trying to do business in the city.
Detroiters are survivors. They tough. They adapt. But only can do so much when your politicians ahead of you and we're not on the same team. We're not going to let Detroit be erased, bulldozed, or wherever. We're going to fight to the bitter end. Detroit going to survive.
Just this month, my bill was like $138.
Even at one phone call a week cost me $40 to $50 every month.
I am living on a fixed income of SSI, so this is really a great hardship. Families are being punished when they incarcerate their children, they incarcerate the whole family.
In 2011, the Media Action Grassroots Network, Working Narratives, and Prison Legal News founded the Campaign for Prison Phone Justice, an effort to call on the FCC to address the cost of interstate phone calls. The campaign mobilized prisoners to send hundreds of letters. Advocates and families filled out postcards, met with elected officials, and signed petitions. Partnerships were formed across the political spectrum and with groups in the criminal justice, civil rights, and public interest community. The film distribution company Participant Media and director Ava DuVernay joined the fight through a social action campaign tied to the release of the feature film Middle of Nowhere. In an effort to push the FCC to act, the campaign hosted a historic rally outside of the Federal Communications Commission where for the first time, families of prisoners, elected officials, civil rights and faith leaders came together to call for an end to predatory phone rates.
We're all held captive when predatory phone companies
gouge our families.
My son has been incarcerated now for over 10 years, and my husband estimates that in the time we spent over $25,000 on prison phone calls.
My hero's not yours, you probably arrested them. Your schools probably neglected them. They spawn thoughts, you probably infected them. Feed us what you feed us, you can lay us next to them. FBI call it major crimes. Babies making babies cry.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
15.3 million people watching the Democratic debate on CNN Tuesday night. The biggest crowd for any Democratic primary debate in history. Bernie and Hillary packing them in. Hey, hello, everybody. What do you say? Thursday, October 15. So good to see you today. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the program. The Bill Press Show. Out with you on your local progressive talk radio station. Here with you as well on Free Speech TV nationwide. We're so good to see you, whether you're listening or watching. Thanks for being part of the program. And we want to hear from you all about your reaction to the debate debate on Tuesday night. And whether or not you think that makes it more or less likely that Joe Biden will jump in. 866-55-PRESS is our toll-free number. Our team is here and ready to go. Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson.
Hello, Bill.
Yes, we are.
Here we are.
Got it. Ray Rogers, also part of the team, to take your calls at that aforementioned number, 866-55-PRESS. And Cyprian Bolding, you don't see him, but you see us because of him, our videographer, on the job as well. And out on the campaign trail, and when she gets back to Washington, we always like to talk to her about the latest. Emma Roller covers politics for the National Journal. Hello, Emma. Nice to see you.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Welcome back, huh?
Thank you. Yeah.
The line of the night Tuesday was definitely Bernie.
Damn emails.
About your damn emails.
Yeah. I'm tired of talking about your damn emails.
Tired about your damn emails.
Right.
Damn it.
There needs to be like a Bernie soundboard.
Yeah, right? Wouldn't that be the greatest?
Yeah. Tad Devine said, we're happy it's being played every 10 seconds.
Yeah.
On cable television.
It's a good moment for him. Sure.
It was yesterday. Stephen Colbert points out last night, this may not be the best message for the Democratic Party, however.
You know your debate was pretty uneventful when the banner headline the next day is elderly man not interested in email.
So if your goal is to attract the millennials, right, that may not be the...
Yeah.
No. Oh, that was very...
I'll read about it on Twitter. I don't want to read about it in your damn email. I'm done with it.
A lot's going on here. Plus, Senator Sherrod Brown from Ohio will join us at the top of the next hour. Paul Singer will be here at the half hour from USA Today. We'll take a look at both the Democratic and the Republican side of this presidential primary with Emma Roller. But first...
This is the Full Court Press.
I keep forgetting about Ivanka Trump's interview. So, what do we... I haven't heard anything about it. Why haven't I?
Yeah, you're right. I failed you as a producer. We're not going to spend the whole show talking about Ivanka Trump's interview. I'm sorry. I'll make sure that we work that in somehow. How about Bradley Cooper? He's probably one of the best actors in Hollywood right now, right?
Yeah, I love him.
And he's stepped up in a big, big way for women. Now, he's co-starred with Jennifer Lawrence in a couple of movies, and she's spoken out about the pay gap between actors and actresses. She says that she's gotten paid less for roles that are equal to men in some of her movies. And Bradley Cooper heard what she said and is taking it to heart. So, in fact, he said for movies moving forward, he will work with the actress that he's working with to make sure that they get paid equally. So if it's a romantic comedy, which he's done, or another movie that has a woman in a different role, he'll work with her to find out, like, we should get paid the same amount. You're doing just as much work as I am, so you should get paid the same. That's pretty cool, right?
It is. Yeah, good for him.
Like, he wasn't popular enough with women, right?
Right.
He's got this going for him now. Good for him. In Utah, out in Utah, I got 2 Utah stories, as a matter of fact.
Is that right?
Yeah, we're going to go all the way out to Utah for 2 quick stories. Salt Lake City, a man was looking for rocks in the Utah desert, and he found, not rocks, he found a World War II era bomb. How about that?
Was an old testing range?
It was an old testing range, exactly. It was an old firing range that they used to test bombs out there, and he found one that had not exploded. So he found the bomb. He alerted the Air Force, which was nearby. They came out, they took a look at it, and they did a controlled explosion. They blew it up. They actually blew it up yesterday afternoon using C4 plastic explosives. So, and it was from a test range that was in the area. So there you go. And a man out taking a walk. This is in San Francisco, the Maritime National Historic Park. Man was out taking a walk when a pine cone fell on his head. It was a 16-pound pine cone.
Get out.
I'm not kidding. It was the size of a pineapple. Have you ever seen pine cones that big in San Francisco?
No.
He kept the pine cone, and it actually, it cut his head. It fell, it was such a big thing. He is now suing the U.S. Department of the Interior and the Historic Park for nearly $5 million in damages.
And what park was this again?
This was the San Francisco Maritime National Historic Park. You don't know that one?
I don't know where it is. But
I'm looking to see if there's anything else.
Well, along the Embarcadero, perhaps, but no, strange.
Yeah, there you go.
What's the definition of a freak accident?
Yeah, right?
Can't do anything about that.
Pine cone that big?
I always wear a hard hat when I walk in the park. Just for that
always
reason.
wear a hard hat when you're outside.
Yes.
Just in general. It's not a bad idea.
I got to say, seriously, you need one right now when you walk a block from here where we live.
Yeah.
With the oak trees,
the
acorns
sure.
coming down. You should hear it. It sounds like a hailstorm all day long. The acorns hitting the roofs of the cars.
Oh my gosh.
Wear a hard hat, man.
I know. Yeah, absolutely.
Does it do damage to the cars?
I haven't seen, it must a little dents maybe, but not, I haven't seen any car smashed in, but seriously. Emma, we have been talking so much about the Democrats since the Democratic debate leading up to and the night of and the morning after and all that kind of stuff. But meanwhile, on the Republican side, there's some interesting news out today, and you've been on the road with Carly most recently. So I had to ask you about this. First of all, the latest poll, CNN is out looking at the Republican primary in 2 key states, Nevada and South Carolina, in both of which Donald Trump has a commanding lead, 38 over Ben Carson, 22 in Nevada, 36 over Ben Carson, 18 in South Carolina. But before we talk about Trump or Carson, I've got to ask you, what happened to Carly? I mean, right after the Republican debate, everybody was saying, Carly, she's the new star.
Yeah, so she did have that big debate bump after the second debate, and obviously it was huge for her to be able to get CNN to change its criteria between the first and second debate so she could get on the main stage. Since then, her debate bump has worn off a little, and I think Marco Rubio has supplanted her in third place somewhat, because he's been branding himself as an outsider, which is a little ironic as a member of the U.S. Senate.
Sure.
But it's shown to be somewhat effective, but still obviously Trump and Carson are leading the day.
Well, what happened with her? Was it just when people then looked more closely because of the debate, they realized there was nothing there, or that her record at HP was really bad and therefore they shouldn't take her seriously? Or
I'm not sure if it was more investigation so much as she just hasn't been in the news as much recently, while Trump and Carson have continued to do their thing where they say inflammatory things on a daily basis. And, it's sort of this vicious cycle of news coverage. So I think that plays into it.
All right. So Peter was giving a little news about back to Ben Carson, who is in the second place. But now he is suspending everything for a couple of weeks. He's
suspending his campaign for suspending public events for 2 weeks. Because he's going to go and promote his book and go fundraise.
But those are... Well, the book promotion are public events.
But it's not a public campaign event, I should say. Like, it's not a campaign event. This is the statement from the Carson campaign. I'm not sure how they're...
So he's still campaigning, but it's under the guise of a book tour.
Yeah. I mean, yes, but I mean, that they don't want to call it that. It's weird.
You don't take 2 weeks out in the middle of a presidential campaign and just said, I've got...
When you got heat, too, right? Like, I mean, he's been rising. He's in second place in most of the polls. Why just...
Right.
Stop.
It's not exactly like when McCain suspended his presidential campaign for the recession.
To go fix the government?
Right.
Yeah,
right. And meanwhile, Donald Trump on top and has been there and remains there and is here to stay, it looks like. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. I, like many reporters, could not have predicted this in a million years, and there's no logical explanation.
All right. Now, if we haven't heard much from Carly lately, there are a lot of others we haven't heard from. I heard anything about. I haven't heard Rand Paul mentioned, Bobby Jindal mentioned. I mean, but by the time we get around to the next debate, which is October 28th.
That sounds right.
Are we going to clear the field a little bit, do you think? Lindsey Graham?
Yeah, I saw a recent poll that was, I think, either 4 or 5 candidates are polling either around 1% or below, and that's, like you said, Jindal, Pataki, Graham,
how could I forget?
Gilmore,
wow.
and Santorum. And
there's another one we haven't heard from.
Right, and
about.
That sort of shows how the game theory of this cycle is a lot different from past cycles where candidates could get away with just campaigning in Iowa and New Hampshire and South Carolina and Nevada to a lesser extent for the early stages of the primary. But now the debates play such a huge factor in, especially on the Republican side, getting people to stand out. And that entails national poll numbers, and that's something that's really irked a lot of the candidates.
Yeah, it has. So, I mean, they're going to boil down to maybe 4 or 5 candidates at some point, I think, pretty soon.
Yeah, maybe at least like 9.
And Chris Christie doesn't have a campaign unless it's appearing on Morning Joe once a week.
Right.
And then he'll go across the street to Fox and try to do Fox and Friends. And so that's his campaign, it seems, from what I could.
I've heard people make the argument that he sort of missed the boat and should have run 4 years ago. But, there's no way he could have predicted Sandy, which happened in the midst of the 2012 campaign.
Right. Back to the Democratic side. The Hillary Clinton people are saying clearly she won the debate. The Bernie Sanders people are saying, hey, we raised $2 million and we have the soundbite of the night. We won the debate.
Yeah, I just saw, and I think Susan mentioned this before, that since the debate, Sanders has raised $2.5 million. He just had a fundraiser in Hollywood last night. And another interesting thing with the fundraising aspect is that obviously Clinton, with her super PAC that supports her, is out fundraising Sanders. But in terms of hard cash, it's sort of a benefit for Sanders, who has been able to raise small amounts. That means he can go back to the same supporters and continue, raising money until they hit that 2,700 mark.
The one issue where, from a progressive point of view, that Bernie, I think, had a bad night was on the gun issue. What I find a little puzzling about to me is he supports most of the progressive measures that are out there in terms of closing the gun show loophole, ban on assault weapons, right down the list, background checks, universal background checks. And he's got a D- rating from the NRA, and yet he doesn't go as far as Hillary or Martin O'Malley want to go.
Right. That sort of shows the field where the Democrats are playing, right, where having a D- NRA grade means that you are the conservative on gun control in the field, which is kind of funny. But no, it is a legitimate concern, I think, for Sanders supporters. I think people who support Bernie are going to, even if they support more gun control. But it is sort of a chink in his progressive armor.
Well, Martin O'Malley, I thought, went overboard when he's accused Bernie of pandering to the NRA.
Right, yeah.
I mean, first of all, Bernie doesn't pander to anybody.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. I think that's sort of a stretch.
Yeah.
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 I mean, you know, it's a weird thing for Bernie because what does he have from the NRA? A D minus.
D minus.
I mean, that's hardly
Pandering.
Cozying up to the NRA, right? I think O'Malley's attack on Bernie was not a bad one. I just don't think many people know what the hell he's talking about, right? Like the Eastern Shore of Maryland, we know about because we're here,
right?
And it's a community of hunters and fairly wealthy hunters who have guns, but those aren't the problem, right? Like, so I don't know that argument works for Bernie or for O'Malley.
No, my take on Bernie on the guns is that actually he's not as strong as I would like him to be on that issue, but and it's not a number one issue for him, right? But I think he's strong enough on it. I just think he wasn't prepared. He didn't have a good answer for why he voted against the Brady bill, for example, or he didn't have a good answer on the liability for gun shops and gun manufacturers. He could have, and there again, as Bernie says, in my view, Hillary demonstrated her experience as a debater because she certainly anticipated hostile questions that might come to her and was able to turn them around.
Yeah, whereas Sanders is more used to the stump speech and, on the Senate floor talking about income inequality. I think he may have failed a bit in anticipating the attacks in the way that Hillary Clinton was probably, preparing herself and steeling herself against all manners of attack.
Absolutely.
Just a quick comment on Twitter, by the way, about the Bernie and the gun stuff. NC Nomad chimed in and said, NRA rates Bernie as a D. That's good enough for him. So he's fine with a D minus from the NRA.
If he had an A, I'd really be
We'd have problems.
nervous.
Yeah.
D minus it's good enough for me too. And a little breaking news: Vice President Joe Biden and Dr. Jill Biden were out for dinner, spotted at Le Diplomate on 14th Street last night here in Washington, D.C. I wonder what they were talking about. We'll be back with Emma Roller, 866-55-PRESS.
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
When I started learning about nutrition, about which, by the way, much less is known than you might think, I learned that what mattered most about one's health was not necessarily the nutrients, good or bad, that you were consuming or staying away from, or even the calorie counts. But what predicted a healthy diet more than anything else is the fact that it was being cooked by a human being and not a corporation. Corporations cook very differently than people do. They use vast amounts of salt, fat, and sugar, much more than you would ever use in your own cooking. And the reason they do that is those are three incredibly attractive and incredibly cheap ingredients. And when they're layered properly, as in a chip or pastries and forms of junk food, they're incredibly addictive. They really press our buttons. They activate our dopamine network, our cravings. And in fact, people in the industry, they don't talk about addiction in the food industry, even though they traffic in addiction. They talk about craveability. It's the same thing. And snackability is another term they use. It's a lovely word. And then the last point about corporate cooking that's important to understand is they cook different stuff than you do at home. What they're good at, in general, they don't cook that well, but things like chips, they cook incredibly well. And here's a classic food that if you make it yourself, if you've ever made French fries, you have to wash the potatoes, you have to peel the potatoes, you have to slice the potatoes, you have to fry them in a lot of oil, you have to spatter your entire stovetop. You have to clean up, and then you have this pot of oil you have to get rid of. I mean, it's really difficult, and it's a pain. They're wonderful, but it's a pain. And if you make them yourself, you'll only eat them every 6 weeks, 2 months, because it's too much work. But when you let corporations cook for you, it's so simple and so inexpensive, and they're really good, that you will have them twice a day, as many people in America do. So you see the kinds of foods you end up with are these labor-intensive foods and desserts. These special occasion foods become everyday foods when we let industry cook for us. Eat anything you want, just cook it yourself.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, here we go. 27 minutes after the hour. Emma Roller here with us from National Journal, talking about Democratic and Republican primary. Emma, let's say a quick hello to Bob. What's going on from out in Fox Island, Washington? Hey, Bob.
Hey, how you doing?
All right. What do you think?
I think that Hillary just proved that she is a really slick, expedient politician like her husband and like Obama. And they'll say whatever it takes to get election. And Bill really did become the Republicans' best friend with the Communications Act and NAFTA and all those things. I'm not saying she's him, but I'm saying that they've gotten so far away from their roots, the progressive roots when she was in college and everything. And they've been pandered to by all the Wall Street and the wealthy. And I think she sounds really good, but Bernie's lived everything that he said. And if you really put her thing about voting for
Hey, Bob,
the Iraq War.
Bob, I got to interrupt you just so I can give Emma long enough to respond here before you have to break. I appreciate the call, Bob. That is a you hear that a lot about Hillary.
Yeah, she likes to tout how she started her career and working for the Children's Welfare Fund and her more progressive roots, but the reality is that hasn't been her political persona for a long time, and I think that is why you see a lot of momentum for Bernie, to use a cliche.
Yeah, and there's the word authenticity, which I think is what Bob was talking about, where some people just don't suspect her progressivism to be real. And Bernie's, it definitely is. Absolutely. Hey, Emma, great to see you. Come back and see us again soon.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
people love me.
My playfulness.
My beauty.
My power.
My life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired.
Tapped.
And tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
The most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
33 minutes after the hour, it is The Bill Press Show. This is Thursday, October 15. We are coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. We're here on Capitol Hill, the heart of the action. Well, kind of, except not this week. They're all out of town with the extended Columbus Day holiday. And we're brought to you today by AFSCME. Yes, the great men and women of AFSCME. Under President Lee Saunders, making up the largest public employee and healthcare workers union in the entire country. For more information about their good work, you can go to their website at afscme.org, AFSCME.org. We salute their good work. Thank them for the support of the program. It is kind of quiet here on Capitol Hill, but behind the scenes, there's still the search for a new speaker. Does anybody want the job? Does Paul Ryan want the job? Paul Singer covers the Congress for USA Today, usatoday.com. Of course, hello, Paul. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Bill. Thanks for having me.
Your boss, Susan Paige, was in a little bit earlier.
Oh, I agree with everything she said.
Is that right? Okay.
She was outstanding, yeah.
Did you hear it?
No, but she was outstanding. I agree with everything she said.
Very good. We'll make sure she knows that.
Thank you.
That Paul was there, right?
Brought to you by.
Brought to you by, exactly. What is the deal with the speakership? I mean, you cover this closely. Didn't you, like everybody else, think it was a done deal with Kevin McCarthy?
More or less, yeah. And it really, this is funny because with the congressional recess in here, in the middle. It's almost like one of those Batman episodes, ta-da, tune in next week to see can he get out of the trouble, because we, on Thursday before the recess, we all prepared for this announcement.
The conference.
I had my draft story written. I was prepared just to put the numbers and the votes on the top and a couple of quotes. And then the floor fell out, and all of a sudden there is no actual speaker. And by Friday morning, we were saying, so what does this mean now? Like, well, there's 10 different people running, and they've got 10 votes each, and who knows who might get it. And if Paul Ryan doesn't come and save us, then we don't know what we're going to do. And here it is a week later, and we are in exactly the same spot.
We are, aren't we? I mean, they have no idea. If not Paul Ryan, they have no idea who the next likely speaker would be.
This is the waiting for Godot moment. That is right. We are sitting and waiting to see what happens.
So could Boehner say, all right, I'll stay till the end of next year?
He could. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of possibilities. I mean, it's very clear he does not want to do that. It's very clear he does not want to stay. He wants to go. He seemed very happy to have this all going away behind him, and now suddenly it's not. He could stay to the end of this year. He could stay to the end of next year. But, and again, until we have a candidate that the Republicans can elect speaker, everything is on the table, really.
And they will insist on electing that speaker with Republican votes only, right? I mean,
you have to assume. I mean,
it would be. Would it be?
It would be odd.
Is politics today impossible that there might be a compromise candidate who could get enough Republican votes and enough Democratic votes to be a different kind of speaker?
You would have to declare essentially a new era of coalition government at that point. I mean, the only way to do that would be to say, we are going to move every major bill with 90-10 split, 90% Republican, 10% Democrat on every bill, which, by the way, is not unlike the way they've been passing major bills now. Anyway, they've been requiring 30, 40, 50 Democratic votes to get some of these bills over the hump. So maybe at some point,
on the few occasions when Boehner's been willing to do so,
right? On the whether it was the Medicare fix or the debt ceiling or the all of these fiscal bills basically require that kind of a deal. So I don't know. Could some speaker, whoever it is, Speaker Ryan or whomever else, just say, you know what? To heck with it, America. We're going to govern from a essentially bipartisan system.
Yeah, how refreshing that would be. I mean,
but I can't imagine how you would do it, because you essentially, your speaker would begin tarnished in the face of half your party.
In today's political climate, it is hard to imagine. Can you tell me, what is the appeal of Paul Ryan, and why is he really getting now shot at by some of the same Tea Party people who brought down John Boehner and Kevin McCarthy?
Well, the appeal of Paul Ryan, of course, is that he was the conservative balance to the 2012 Republican ticket. Remember, Mitt Romney was not conservative enough, so they gave you Paul Ryan because he was younger and more conservative. He has a very strong public standing. People like him a lot. Very good fellow. He's, he has the respect of enough of the Republican caucus, one would imagine, to be able to bring along enough votes to win. The Pitchfork caucus doesn't like him largely because he has been part of the establishment. He's not a 100% guy. He is maybe an 80% guy from their perspective.
And 80%'s not good enough, right?
Not if you think you can hold out for 100, right? I mean, this is the whole argument. Is half a loaf better than no bread at all? At the moment, these guys are pretty happy with no bread, and for the Pitchfork caucus, it's really an issue of being able to express their outrage with the way the system works. And to say, basically, we're not going to accept anybody who doesn't give us a promise that we will have a bigger seat at the table.
And Paul Ryan, we don't know yet, but is not willing to do that.
Well,
perhaps.
Paul Ryan is not the sort of guy who's going to want to negotiate with a rump wing of his own party, I don't think. And I certainly don't think that anybody who takes that speaker's chair has this problem, right? Do you want to make a bunch of promises before you even start that lock you into a whole bunch of futile fights up the hill? I mean, what the Pitchfork caucus is looking for is, we want to deliver bills to the president's desk that he will veto.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially what their goal is, because they want to have that fight in public, which I admire. That's for them the right issue is to we'll say yes, he says no, let the American people choose. Their problem is they can't get to the president's desk because the filibuster still exists in the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how you resolve that.
To me, watching this whole game play out is just stunning. And they have to. There's no. I guess as long as Boehner hangs around, there's no real deadline, right? Meaning they could drag this thing.
I guess not, but. Yeah.
What a terrible thought.
You've really just ruined my holidays. No deadline. Bill, I live off deadlines. You got to give me away.
I was just saying.
Yeah, no.
At some point, they're going to run out of gas.
Something will have to happen. Something will have to happen next week.
But
I don't know
that
what.
something? What is the thing that's gonna make them finally just be like, we got to get this?
It can't be public opinion polls. I mean, they're
right.
They're,
exactly.
They're in single digits now, right?
I'm wondering if maybe they could draft Joe Biden because apparently he's not, may not be the guy for the Democratic, nomination.
So you don't have to be a congressman to serve as speaker.
Well, and there's been some agitating for Newt to come back, which, hey, now. I don't think he would do it, but.
Or Bob Livingston, we could bring him back.
Well, there you go. That would be entertaining also. Denny Hastert will have some time on his hands, apparently. So
it's hard to believe that, but it is the 100% crowd. I have to tell you, now, you have 3 times used the phrase "pitchfork caucus."
Yeah,
I've never heard that before. This is the so-called Freedom Caucus.
Yeah,
but you're calling them the pitchfork.
It's
caucus.
more than the Freedom Caucus. That's the thing is that I have a pal who doesn't like describing. He doesn't like, and I agree with him that it's not a Tea Party. There is no party. There's no Tea Party movement. But there is.
Right.
But there is this kind of what I really do feel like the Pitchfork Caucus, which is a group of very agitated people who really want to throw the bums out, and they're storming the castle.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, they are the Pitchfork Caucus. I mean, they have ideological.
How many of them are there?
Well, it's hard to know, right? I mean, the Freedom Caucus claims somewhere in the range of 35 to 40 members. They don't have to disclose who all their members are, and it's a little murky. But then there's, probably another half dozen or so who agree with them but are not with the caucus. There's now a couple of people who were members of the caucus who've quit the caucus because they think this is a little too confrontational, not getting to the right answers. But yeah, probably 3 to 4 dozen.
Right. So 40 or 50 people, right, basically control the whole House of Representatives.
Welcome to coalition government. I mean, we are now, this is how European parliaments work, is you have 2 major parties that control, 47%, as our friend Mitt Romney once said, and the remaining 6% are the swing. And whoever can build a coalition with that 6% gets to govern. And that is what you are seeing right now, is you are seeing coalition government building in the U.S. Congress.
We expect that Congress will be back in town next week. When they come back, with not much time between now and the end of the year, is there any hope of seeing any action on anything at all? That's Paul Singer's job. He's here with USA Today, covering the Congress. He'll tell us all about it, and welcome your calls at 866-55-PRESS.
Like politics? Then like The Bill Press Show on Facebook. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is why you took a second job. While you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. While you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
13 minutes before the top of the hour, Washington correspondent for USA Today and neighbor on Capitol Hill, Paul Singer, here in the studio with us. We love people who live on Capitol Hill because we can take full advantage of them.
Absolutely.
You know? I mean, if it's bad traffic, bad weather, whatever.
7:24. Can you get here by 7:30? Yeah.
Yeah, right. People who live on the Hill don't have.
We have a
excuse.
contingency plan. As we hit the winter, you're going to hear from us like the day before there's a big snow. Because we know you can walk here.
I may be in pajamas, but yeah.
That's fine. That's fine.
So when Congress does finally come back in town, you expect them to. What's the big thing? I guess is the debt.
Debt ceiling is first.
The budget and debt ceiling first.
Yeah.
And the Treasury Secretary yesterday said, what is it, 30 days or something? There's
the deadline has been the beginning of November. The first week of November or something like that. And remember, we don't run out of money. We run out of borrowing authority. Whether that matters or not depends. But I think they can't really solve the debt ceiling problem until they have some sense of what they're going to do on a longer term budget, which is sort of the bigger issue here is we are at fiscal cliff 2. That is at the end of the year, December 11th, government funding runs out. We have a whole bunch of tax breaks that need to be renewed before the year ends. Most of them are already actually expired, but they have to be renewed before the year ends to avoid the gap. We've got the debt ceiling, where running out of borrowing authority, and we have a highway bill that is going to run out of money sometime in this fall. I'm not sure. I don't remember exactly what the date is on that. So all those things are money issues, and it's basically a process of starting with a large number. They have to say, okay, what is our large number? How much are we going to spend for all of these government programs? And then they have to say, okay, in order to get to that number, what are we going to pay? What are we going to use to pay for it? How are we going to either cut spending or raise taxes to pay for that additional spending? And that is the sort of the grand scheme that they have to sort out sometime between now and like next Tuesday.
Right. November 5, I just noticed here, is the deadline. That's what the Treasury Department says when our borrowing limit runs. We reach the limit there. And this headline in Politico this morning, Boehner looking to move debt ceiling bills soon. So this has changed a little bit because we thought he was going to leave at the end of the month.
Right.
But this is something that Boehner might be inclined to do while he's still there, just to save the new guy from having to deal with this?
This was an interesting question. From the moment Boehner said he was stepping aside, this became the kind of the magic question of timing, right? Is that if we need to have a debt ceiling bill basically the week he departs, doesn't it make sense to have him negotiate that rather than dropping this on the lap of whoever comes next and having them have to make the hard bargain that you and I were discussing a few minutes ago of Nancy Pelosi, I need 50 of your people because I'm going to lose 50 of mine. That's the sort of thing that an outgoing lame duck speaker might be able to get away with before he leaves. Sign the bill, drop the mic.
Is he inclined to do that, do you think?
I don't know. I don't know exactly what he's thinking, obviously. But it sounds like they want to carry as much of it. And this was part of the discussion when he retired. They want to clear as much of the table as possible before the next speaker takes over in order to ease that person's leadership trajectory. Otherwise, they take office as speaker and they pick up the gavel on the 1st of November, and the 2nd of November they have this plate of steaming crap sitting in front of them that they have no way to solve.
Yeah, even up to the presidency of George W. Bush, raising the debt ceiling was not routine. A big deal. Pretty routine. I mean, Barack Obama, we know, voted against it at one time. There were always some, kind of whatever protest votes.
Right. You'd make your case. Yeah. But no one actually expected it to fail.
But now it has become a big deal and a partisan deal. And similarly, the highway transportation bill was always a routine bipartisan matter. Put it out 5 years ahead because you need that kind of planning. And now that they can't even do that for more than like 3 months at a time.
Yeah, and I'm almost completely ignorant on the highway bill and have been for many years, which I consider a point of pride. But but it is this interesting thing that, as a pal of mine wrote a story about this about 10 years ago that was really quite insightful, that as our vehicles become more efficient, we are getting more miles driven on fewer gallons of gas.
Which means tax dollars.
The gas tax per gallon does not pay for as many miles of road. It is just a declining equation. So you have to fix that problem. And they've never fixed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what they need to do is, I guess, start charging electric cars more or
something like that. I don't know, or raise the gas tax, which of course they have been refusing to do.
Yeah, or people also talk about this tax where you get taxed based on how many miles you drive. Peter, we've talked about the
cafe standards.
No, he's talking about a mileage, a per vehicle mile traveled standard.
Right.
Which of course the NSA knows how much you drive, so they'll just be able to charge you automatically.
Right.
Yeah, right.
But these roads will record how much you drive, or somehow
yeah.
Sure.
That's not going to be next year's bill, though. That's a couple of decades away.
That's going to be a tough one to pass, too.
Yeah. Because we know how much you drive, and we're going to charge you for it. If Grandma lives further, it's going to cost you more at Thanksgiving. That'll be a popular bill.
Well, I hope you enjoyed your week off, Paul, because you get back to full bore next week.
Week off, man. We did the debates on Tuesday.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I was up all night.
How about that for a day off?
All right, good. Great to see you. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Bill. My pleasure.
All right. And we'll be right back and tell you what's on the White House agenda for today here on the Bill Press Show. Thanks.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, hour number 3. Are you ready? Well, get ready. And don't forget, you have to wait a little bit on Free Speech TV until 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 Pacific, 4 Central to watch the third hour. But you can watch it right away on TawkrTV, youtube.com/Tawker, TAWKR-TV. The great senator from Ohio, Senator Sherrod Brown, leading the fight for doing something about income inequality and climate change in the U.S. Senate. He will be with us at the top of our third hour today, so don't forget, stay right here. One more hour coming up.
A few years ago, plastic bag waste in our city came to a tipping point. It was clear we had a bag problem. My department was tasked to reduce plastic bag consumption. We needed to come up with ways to change human behavior. So we asked ourselves,
should I get back?
What do people really hate?
Yep.
Getting punched in the stomach. Preliminary studies showed that the consequences weren't severe enough to warrant behavioral change.
Actually, can I get that double bagged?
So we thought, what do people hate more than getting punched in the stomach? Kissing Helga.
Big boy.
People didn't find her so offensive after all, so we had to get creative.
How many bags? Okay, now, pour this ice water down your pants.
We tried everything.
Eat this rat. Defuse this bomb.
Even fighting your clone. After blowing through millions of dollars of government funds on research, I came up with a brilliant idea.
Why don't we just charge 5 cents per bag?
That's a stupid idea.
Would you like a bag?
Yes.
5 cents a bag.
5 cents? 5 cents? Do I still have the option of getting punched?
Honestly, I don't know how everyone else missed it.
Why don't you just get a reusable bag?
This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, how about it here? The Bill Press Show, indeed, on this Thursday, October 15. Got to pull up the president's schedule here today. It's pretty light today. He and the vice president get the daily briefing at about 10 o'clock, at which time the vice president will not announce whether or not he is running for president. Won't happen there. That's all off the record, of course, the daily briefing. And then the only other thing on the president's schedule today is he will be delivering remarks at a reception for the 25th anniversary of the White House Initiative on Educational Excellence for Hispanics. As we reported earlier, the president at some point today, I'm not sure what the venue, is going to announce that he has decided to leave 5,500 American troops in Afghanistan, not bring all of our troops home by 2016, as he had originally proposed or promised, but to leave 5,500 troops there through 2017. But of course, that will be up to the next president of the United States to decide when they come home. We have our briefing today with Josh Earnest at 1:15. I'll tell you all about it tomorrow.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The hardest moments for me is when I'm laying awake in the middle of the night and I'm thinking about all the times I made a pitcher of Kool-Aid with the water, or I boiled a pot of corn or potatoes with the water. Those thoughts just stick with me in the middle of the night, and I feel horrible as a mom that I didn't know that something was wrong, but how could I have known? There's no way I would have known.
The spill at Dan River happened when a drainage pipe that ran underneath an ash basin and dam collapsed, sucking out 6 decades of waste and spewing gunk directly into the river.
My husband and I just kind of looked at each other like, should we be concerned? We live right next to an ash pond, and this was coal ash spilling into the Dan River, and we learned at that point all of the toxins that were included in coal ash.
A situation like Dan River, where there was a catastrophic disaster, gets people's attention, but the fact is that these coal ash pits have been leaking and poisoning people's groundwater and the state's surface waters for decades. Coal ash is the residue left behind after coal is burned in a coal-fired power plant. A large coal-fired power plant can burn 10 million tons of coal a year. When the organic matter in the coal is burned away, what's left behind are these trace minerals, things like arsenic, lead, mercury, selenium, and chromium. And these are highly concentrated. The coal ash can have concentrations of these contaminants that are 10 to 100 times greater than the level in the coals themselves.
Coal ash pond number 1 is right behind my house, literally pretty much in my backyard. We were approached by a neighbor who was wanting to have their well tested, and we decided that maybe we should have ours tested as well. They found hexavalent chromium at 4.5 parts per billion.
So in talking to the residents, we have discovered anecdotal evidence of an extraordinary number of cancers for this fairly small community.
Some of us in the community got together. We started kind of talking about all the cancer that we've seen in some of our family friends in this community, I think we had somewhere in the neighborhood of around 70 names. So we had some help from our river keepers putting a map together, and it was a little shocking to see it. You know, I still have a hard time looking at it.
Technically, EPA has not regulated coal ash as a hazardous waste, but it is undeniable that coal ash contains many, many hazardous substances that are hazardous, in fact, to people and the environment. And the only reason they have not been regulated as such is because of intense lobbying efforts by the coal industry and its allies.
A lot of these chemicals are simple elements, but when you find them at the levels that they exist in around coal ash ponds, then you're starting to talk about cancer, brain tumors, you're talking about birth defects, developmental problems, neurotoxicity.
We began to look at legal options, cases that we could bring in court to protect communities and their citizens from these toxic leaking time bombs. In 2002, North Carolina enacted a public financing mechanism for judicial elections. This kept private money out of judicial elections.
The repeal of the public financing program in judicial elections in North Carolina creates a dangerous precedent for all, and it gives corporate polluters and other special interests the opportunity to elect the judges that they want. And this is important for us all. Everyone should care about this, because when you think about the fact that the state and the federal government have basically abdicated their responsibility to regulate these issues, the state courts are the last stopgap.
I think this is no longer a problem that's going to go under the radar. It has been exposed, and I am confident that we will ultimately, with the facts, win out and ensure that we have protected waterways.
And so this is something that we all should care about. If we're worried about the water we drink and the air we breathe, we have to be concerned about money in judicial elections.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
15.3 million Americans tuned in for the Democratic debate Tuesday night. More Democrats, more Americans tuning in than for any other Democratic debate in history. It just proves there is a hunger for a good, strong, progressive message. And they wanted to see whether the Democrats made more sense than that bunch of clowns in the Republican debate did. Hey, hello, everybody. What do you say? It's a big Thursday, October 15. Good to see you today. Thank you so much for being part of the program, The Bill Press Show, live from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., booming out to you coast to coast, nationwide on your local progressive talk radio station, nationwide on our two great radio apps, the TuneIn app and iHeartRadio, and also booming out to you nationwide, coast to coast, on Free Speech TV, worldwide on our video stream, youtube.com/TawkrTV. So in other words, there is just no excuse. Wherever you happen to be, we are with you one way or the other. And whether you're watching or listening, we welcome you to the program today and look forward to hearing from you on our toll-free number at 866-55-PRESS. You know the team here. They are in place. Peter Rockburn and Jamie Benson.
Yep.
Hello, guys.
Hey, good morning.
Indeed, Ray Rogers is here to take your calls, again, at 866-55-PRESS, and Cyprian Bolding has got the lights and the cameras on, our videographer as well. And we are so pleased and honored to welcome back to the program a good friend, a great leader in the United States Senate, not just for the people of Ohio, but for all Democrats, all progressives across the country. Congressman, whoa, where'd that come from? Senator Sherrod Brown. I didn't mean to demote you there, Senator.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
How are you?
I get to do that too. Good, thank you. And thanks to Peter and Jamie, but Bill especially. I haven't been on your show in a while, so it's great to be back.
Nice to have you back.
It's good to have you back, Senator. Now, I think maybe the last time we talked was about the TPP when we were trying to stop the TPA, the Fast Track Authority in the Senate. Lost that round. Now the deal has been done. We haven't been able to read the whole deal yet, but what are the chances of stopping the TPP in its full form, do you think, Senator?
Well, I think I think we've certainly delayed it. I don't know that because of all the controversy. You know, we think we fixed some of the tobacco language that was just terrible for public health in the developing world. The agreement's a little better than we thought, but it's still got most of the same problems: job loss, a major shift of power from individual elected governments to corporations. That's what these trade agreements always are. Probably it enhances the power of the drug industry to keep out generics in the developing world, and it continues the same bad trade policy we've had. The direct answer to your question: there is a chance to stop it. I think, particularly in the House. There are a lot of misgivings about it. In the Senate, they only need 50 votes now because that's the way they wrote the rules in TPA, making it harder to defeat it. But clearly the public doesn't like these trade agreements. I have no doubt about that.
There was also in the draft, and I don't know whether that's gone or not, this provision whereby companies could actually sue and then maybe give permission to override the laws of any particular land. Do you know what I'm talking about? Is that still in it?
It is still. The only thing it's not in is the tobacco language about, this is called investor states dispute settlement, where it used to be a government had to sue another government for an unfair trade practice. Now, under TPP, a company can sue a foreign government. So a drug company can sue a foreign drug company in the U.S. could sue a foreign government saying, that's not fair to us. That generic drug law is not fair to our drug company, and that's what they were doing with tobacco. They've done it before, and it really does override democratic view, democratic principles, democratic rules, democratic laws, and that's the big shift in these trade agreements. From democratic principles to corporate governance, and it's a real problem.
It is. It's a real abdication of power, I believe, and I think people are going to recognize that down the road if it gets passed. Senator, I don't know whether you had a chance to watch the Democratic debate the other night, but as a progressive, what did you think of what you saw from Democratic candidates?
Yeah, two things. One, I watched all three debates. I watched the Republican debates in full. I watched the Democratic debate in full. It's kind of my job, I think.
Yep.
Painful at times watching Donald Trump and all, but here's two things I took out of it. One is clearly this is the contrast. First, in terms of the Democrats, clearly the party for the little guy, the party that looks out for women, that looks out for lower income, that looks out for people with less privilege. That contrast was so clear. The depth of debate, the respect for voters that you saw on the Democratic side, the Republican name-calling, the Republican bordering on jingoism and racism and misanthropy from time to time, or misogyny. And plus, I think that it just, the contrast is so clear. And I was really proud of all of our candidates. When they disagreed, it wasn't personal. They didn't attack each other. They disagreed on substance, which is what it should be.
Yeah.
Republicans were very different, as you know, and it made me really proud. And I think that's a good harbinger for what happens in 2016.
Yeah, and the issues that they talked about, right, were the issues that really do impact average Americans, middle-class Americans, or people care about, and not spending all that time on Planned Parenthood and those other distractions.
Yeah, the Republicans were trying to outright-wing one another, and how much they hate Planned Parenthood, and how much they hate immigrants, and how much they hate each other. And the Democrats were much more respectable voters and, disagreed at the margins on some issues, just had a good little debate on guns, had a good debate on trade, had a good debate on issues of foreign policy. And I was just really proud. I think that no matter where you stood on the spectrum, no matter whom you're supporting, you walked away thinking, I like the way Hillary did it. I like the way Bernie did it. I like the way all five candidates did it, frankly.
And some of the issues that you certainly have championed, Senator Brown, particularly income inequality. That was a dominant theme on the debate on everybody. I mean, basically, that's sort of been established, hasn't it, as the fundamental building block of this Democratic campaign.
Yeah. All five of them are not just concerned, not just addressed and concerned about income inequality and wealth inequality. All five of them have a legitimate, real, workable idea of what to do about it. No silver bullet, of course, but moving in the right direction. Republicans, the term income inequality, I don't think even brought up on the Republican side. But they want to do more tax cuts and more of the same kind of trickle-down economics. It really doesn't work.
You get a lot of credit for raising that issue, but so does Bernie Sanders. He has really had an impact, hasn't he?
Bernie's had an impact, and I think that. I was thrilled that Hillary Clinton said she's a progressive, and I think she is. And I think she's devoted her life to particularly children's issues. And I just was in Dayton, in Columbus yesterday with Broderick Johnson from the White House on something called My Brother's Keeper.
Yes, great
program. To focus on young black boys and young black men. And those are the kinds of things that Democrats do that clearly we haven't fixed things. Even an African-American president hasn't been able to broadly transform things. But there's a real commitment, I think, of the progressives have on these issues of giving children and young people opportunity. We've not very well done it in our country in the last few years for any race, but especially for people of color.
And Senator, I know you've got to go soon, but I do have to ask you, have we seen sort of the end of the little presidential bump of John Kasich in Ohio?
I think we've seen... I just can't imagine John Kasich's going to be the nominee. I don't think he'll be the vice presidential nominee either because he's a bit unpredictable. He's done some good things like Medicaid expansion, but he's terrible on economic issues by and large, and he's particularly terrible on women's issues, terrible anti-abortion, awful language they've written in the budget, bad on marriage equality, all the things. The country's moved on. He's still looking backwards, and I don't think he gets much legs in this issue. But in this campaign, but hell, I don't have any way of judging the Republicans what they're going to do. Nor do you, Bill.
Nor do I. No,
that's one thing we've learned in this election cycle. Nobody knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, nobody knows. That's right. Yeah.
But couldn't agree with you more about being proud of what we saw Tuesday night out of Las Vegas among our good Democratic friends. It's great to have you with us, Senator, and we'll see you back in studio one of these days.
I'd love to. I'll come in. We'll do it for sure. Thanks,
All right,
Bill.
Great. Thanks. Senator Sherrod Brown. Great fighter. He and Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders are the real leading progressives. There's some others too, Jeff Merkley out in Oregon, and Sheldon Whitehouse up in Rhode Island, Dick Durbin out of Illinois, but certainly Sherrod Brown's right up there in the front row. Good to have him with us. We'll be right back here. And if you want to weigh in, don't forget, it's always 866-55-PRESS.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at Facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. If I say dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you come.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
20 minutes after the hour, here we are on this Thursday, October 15. We're going to take a little fun time out in the next half hour and welcome great chef here from Washington, D.C., Hamilton Johnson. Peter, you know about Hamilton's work more than I.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Great chef. Southern-inspired cooking. Spent a little time in my hometown of Charleston. Got a great spot here in D.C.
Oh, that's right. Used to be at Snob, slightly north of Broadway, one of my favorite places. For a long time, the cover of my book, Spin This, framed cover, signed framed cover, was up over the toilet in the ladies' room.
That's right.
Yes. That's
Really?
It may still be there.
Huh.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is or not. I was in Snob not that long ago.
Did you go to the ladies' room?
I didn't go to the ladies'
So
room.
see, how would you know?
Yeah, I know. I can't tell you.
Hamilton Johnson and Steve Lucas are going to be here in the studio with us next half hour. I've got a couple of breaking news things to talk about. And we also want to remind you at this point that we're coming into the weekend. That means more NFL football. That means boom, 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 boom. FanDuel, you got to be out there. And apply your skills to the fantasy football world, and maybe you can even, we invite you to challenge us, of course.
There we go.
But so far, nobody here has been able to beat all of you. All of you have been beating the pants off our teams here. But Peter and Jamie and Ray and Cyprian will have their teams again this weekend. Join our league and see if you can beat us again. You go to FanDuel.com/BillPress.
You got it. Yeah,
right?
Come on.
I'm going to make a Peter Ogburn type declaration this week and say I'm confident that I'm going to return to the top 5 this week.
Oh, wow.
I'm not going to say I'm going to win it all, but I'm going to say I'm going to be back in the money this week.
Well, you can't say you're going to win it all because I'm going to win it all.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to win it all this week. This is the week I end up number 1.
Well, even though I'm the coach of this team, I'm betting on our listeners.
It's not
is that bad now,
It's
Bill?
not a bad bet.
Well, you guys have let me down for the last 4 weeks. So again, it's FanDuel.com/BillPress, and it's a lot of fun, and we will we'll try, but you might beat us. So Bernie Sanders, as sort of on a roll, coming out of the debate, he raised. It's very funny. The journalists are mostly saying Hillary Clinton, including myself, Hillary Clinton was the stronger of the two. That if you have to have a winner, she won the debate. But Bernie had a really good night for sure. All the focus groups across the country, as opposed to the professional journalists, people in the focus groups unanimously say Bernie Sanders won. So Bernie, and as evidence of that, also that he had a good night, his campaign has said they raised over $2 million in small contributions just based on his performance at the debate. Remember, he made a pitch for small contributions at the end of the evening as part of his closing statement. And it worked. The checks are rolling in. He went right from Las Vegas to Los Angeles to be on with Ellen. And, Ellen has this funny thing where she asks off-the-wall kind of questions. If you were a cup of Ben & Jerry's ice cream or a pint of Ben & Jerry's, what would your flavor be? Those kinds of things, right? Here's a question about handcuffs.
Have you ever been in handcuffs?
Yes. Now, I don't know exactly what you mean by that.
Could go a lot of different ways.
I take it to mean, was I ever arrested by the police?
Well, no, not necessarily.
When I was young, yes, I was involved in a civil rights demonstration, and I was arrested.
Oh, yes. So he clarified that he was in handcuffs, and this is the kind of handcuffs he was in.
Yeah.
And why?
Ooh, man.
I love the, so he's on Ellen. Have you ever been in handcuffs? Yes.
Yes. Of course.
Always serious, direct, right to the point.
That's great. Well, during the debate, they asked him about Edward Snowden. Edward Snowden, right? Would you let him come back home? What did you say? Would you let Edward Snowden come back home? Yes, of course I would. But that was his answer. That was it. Just like, yes, of course. What's the question?
I remember that one time he was on our program, and this was a time when I think it was Marco Rubio, but a couple of the Republicans said if a member of their family were gay or lesbian, LGBT, and were getting married, would they go to the wedding? Remember?
Yes.
That was a big deal.
Yeah.
Would you go to the So Bernie came on, and every candidate was being asked that question. So I asked him that question. He was really kind of a little pissed on even asking.
Yeah.
What a silly question. Of course I would.
What kind of question is this?
What kind of question?
Of course I would.
Of course I would.
Of course.
Yeah. Boom. Let's get serious here. That's what he said. You ever been in handcuffs? Yes.
Yes.
All right.
A dumb question.
Indeed. One other big story. So much about the debate. One big story that I think is worth taking note of, and the NRA and the gun manufacturers are taking note of, and that is this happened out in Milwaukee a couple of days ago. Late Tuesday, same day as the debate. That's why it got buried. A jury awarded more than $5 million in damages to 2 police officers, and they found guilty. These police officers had been shot by an 18-year-old kid. The jury not only found this 18-year-old guilty of shooting these officers, he found the gun store where he bought the gun guilty of selling him the gun because he was underage. He should not have been able to buy it. Somebody went into the gun store in Milwaukee with him. There's videotape of this guy, whoever his friend was, standing at the counter with the 18-year-old, helping him fill out the form. I guess the guy was filling out the form, but the 18-year-old was giving him the information, his home address and all that kind of stuff. So it was very clear that one guy was buying the gun for the other guy. The gun store went ahead, sold him the gun. They've now been held liable for the damage to these police officers. That is, you talk about a shot fired across the bow of gun shops all across the country. I hope this results in more lawsuits against more gun shops, particularly people at gun shows, for selling guns to people who should never be able to get them. And this is the beginning of lawsuits against the gun manufacturers, the people who make. So not only the people who sell the guns, but the people who make the guns. Very, very important. This is the first time there have been other lawsuits like this in the past. This is the first time that one of them has succeeded, and I think it shows there is a turning point in the public demanding answers to and people taking responsibility for the gun violence in this country. Check out that story online, Wisconsin gun store in Milwaukee. And we'll be right back with Chef Hamilton Johnson and Steve Lucas from Equity.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Before now, it's been difficult for criminals like us to know which states have loose gun laws. How would a criminal like me know which states permit me to carry loaded guns in their amusement parks, golf courses, or beaches?
I have some violent friends. We all wear leather jackets and scream at women. And we want to find out which states we can buy and sell guns easily.
CrimAdvisor.com. That's the site to find out where it's easiest for felons and fugitives to buy, carry, and even traffic guns.
That's why I love Arizona, where I can go see the beautiful Grand Canyon and carry a loaded gun without even having to get a background check.
You would fail that background check.
I'm sure of it. Now, what about a road trip? What states can I go to fill my trunk with guns and take it back home for my even more dangerous friends?
CrimAdvisor has a list for that.
That's so unreasonable.
Our traffickers' top 10.
Nevada. What happens in Vegas may have to stay in Vegas, but your guns don't. Bring them over to California and sell them.
The market up there is hungry for guns.
I understand that CrimAdvisor.com will tell me which states really cater to us criminals and creeps, but what about the states where we're not so welcome? The ones that don't get us?
I don't even like saying the name of these states, but California, Connecticut, Maryland, and New York all have laws to keep guns out of the hands of people like us.
I want to shoot California so bad.
Boo, California.
Boo, go home. Wow. CrimAdvisor.com has all this information?
Sure does.
CrimAdvisor.com. Plan your perfect getaway. Oh, like TripAdvisor.
Oh.
Same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies. In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now. Please.
The most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go. It's 33 minutes after the hour. How about it? The Bill Press Show. We're coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. We're here in our studio on Capitol Hill, and we're brought to you today by the American Federation of Government Employees, good men and women of the AFGE under President J. David Cox. They're the people who run all of the different government agencies all across this land, not just in Washington, D.C., doing a great job keeping the government running. And for more information, you can check out their website at afge.org. You know, you can't live by politics alone. We get tired of talking politics, and we love to talk sports once in a while, and we particularly love to talk about food. And partake. We're so glad to welcome to the studio today. Hamilton Johnson is a chef here in Washington, D.C. Comes to Washington, D.C. by way of Charleston, South Carolina, where there's probably, I think, best food and the best restaurants in the nation.
My man.
Among them, huh?
Let's get in there, yeah.
And that is Peter Ogburn's hometown as well.
Yes, indeed.
Hamilton, I whether you know
Awesome.
that.
All day long.
You, we were talking, you worked at one of my favorite places, slightly north of Broad, or Snob.
Right, yep.
Yeah. Have you been in the ladies' room there lately?
No.
Oh, okay. Well,
I mean, I hope not.
Lately. Not lately. Oh. No, the reason I ask is because Dick Elliott, who's the owner of Snob, I gave him the artwork of the cover of my first book called Spin This.
Okay.
And up until a year or so ago, the signed cover by me was over the toilet in the ladies' room at Snob. And because people would come out and say, "Oh, Bill Press, I just saw you in the ladies' room." Right. I had asked her.
You have to tell stories about that?
Oh, yeah, we could. Indeed. All right. And you're joined by Steve Lucas here, who is the Vice President of Strategy and Communications and one of the co-founders of Equity Eats.
Good morning.
Good morning, Steve. Good to see you. So you guys work together. Your restaurant here in Washington is
Honeysuckle.
Honeysuckle, right. Which is part of it's a pop-up, right?
Right. Correct. Yes.
How does that work for a restaurant?
Basically, for about 5 to 6 months, kind of using this as a crowdfunding to raise money and get investors, and then once we get a certain goal, and then we move on to my actual location and where I want to be.
Okay, so Honeysuckle is now in the pop-up stage.
Correct.
Is that right? As part in Prequel, and that's your shop, right?
Yeah. So Equity Eats is a crowdfunding platform for restaurants, bars, coffee shops. We're on the forefront of really transforming the way we finance restaurants and small businesses as an extension. Prequel is our project here in D.C. It's a brick and mortar space in Penn Quarter. It's 918 F Street Northwest. So Honeysuckle is in the front space in the evenings. They're open Monday to Saturday. And so Hamilton puts together an awesome menu. We also have a beverage program, cocktails, wine, beer, that serves every night. And the goal for us and for Hamilton is to really showcase his talent and then his vision for Honeysuckle and attract people, investors, anywhere from $100 to $100,000.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So how many restaurants or operations are in at one time? in Prequel?
So it depends. We've had...
It's a big space, right?
It's a very big space. It's the old Living Social building. I like to say it's the new Equity Eats building. People
There
still
you
think of
go.
it as Living Social. We've had up to 4 pop-ups at a time.
4 pop-ups at a time.
But we're coming to a model where, someone like Hamilton has the strength and the appeal in the general public to really bring in a strong dinner business. And then other concepts that are trying to raise money with us, they're welcome to use the space. Any chef that's in the space has to be crowdfunding with us.
Yeah.
And then we also have a bar downstairs called Brick and Mortar.
Well, I want to take just a minute out because you brought in this great dish, and I know it's warm, so I don't
Right,
want it to
yeah.
get too cold.
Okay.
So tell us what you prepared, and then we can talk. I want to talk
Okay.
more about this pop-up and
Basically,
the restaurant business.
it's an oyster stew we have on the menu right now.
Oh my!
So it's
I love oysters.
You're
poached
playing with our
oysters.
hearts now, man. You bring the oysters in?
Yeah,
That, yeah.
potatoes and bacon, scallop cream,
yeah.
champagne and scallop base cream sauce, potatoes, some fresh herbs. Real simple.
Mm.
You can make
Real
it at home.
simple,
You
but
can make that
delicious.
at home easily.
Really? Yeah.
I think so.
That's
I don't
unbelievable.
really know how you cook
That's
it.
so good.
So good. I love oysters too. That's just one of the best I've ever had. It's really
Easily
really
one of the
good.
best. That's so good, man.
Now, so I have to tell you, I've never been an investor in a restaurant. I've invested in a lot of others. I'd be afraid of investing in a restaurant. Tell me why I should not be, because my observation of the restaurant business is there's so many of them that pop up and then
Right.
pop down pretty fast. It's a tough business, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's long hours, a lot of stress.
Yeah.
So I would say, can I jump in on that? Because
Sure. But I want to hear from the chef.
sure.
Go ahead. But
we get the reason I wanted to answer that is that we get that question a lot as Equity Eats. Why, if we know all about crowdfunding and equity crowdfunding, why are we doing restaurants? But there is actually a perception that restaurants are.
You didn't bring any white wine in with you, did you?
Not this time.
No, I'm sorry.
We have some back there, Bill, if you need some.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
So there's a perception that restaurants are not as good investments as other small businesses, but in fact the failure rate is on par with other small businesses. And we actually, we strengthen restaurants by having hundreds of investors from day one. One of the
That's
biggest,
a big difference, right?
It's a
I think.
huge, yeah. I mean, in everyday people in the neighborhood, this is maybe their first investment, or this is a really experienced investor who has access to new restaurants. So, we think that small businesses are strengthened when they open with hundreds of investors who come in, they patronize the business, and they're tied to the bottom line, just like the
So
chef.
people come in, they really like the food, they really like the
Right.
what you're doing, and they'll say, I'll throw $50 in or $100 or whatever
Right,
they
yeah.
could afford, right? And
Right.
then they're all part of it.
Yeah.
How much? What's your goal? How much you trying to raise?
300,000.
300,000.
Yeah.
Okay. And with that, you can start your own
Correct, yeah.
space. But even building out, I mean, one of the advantages I'm sure of Prequel is that you already have the equipment there, right?
Yeah.
The kitchen equipment,
Right, yeah.
everything. Building that out has got to be a huge upfront cost for a restaurant.
Very expensive, yeah. Well, it also depends on the size of the kitchen and the size of the operation you're going to do. Kind of reflects what you're going to bring into the kitchen. A bigger restaurant, more products, more stoves, more ovens, more tools and whatnot
Right.
that you're going to need.
So how many tables do you have at Honeysuckle? No.
Right now we have around 12.
Yeah, 12 tables
Yeah.
and then about 30 covers, but
Yeah.
we can expand.
And we're going to expand to the second floor
yeah.
once it starts business.
We had a full
makes that
house last
happen.
night.
Yeah.
So.
Did you? Yeah. I was
Yeah.
gonna say, so how long have you been there?
About a month.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. The word's getting out. Is it just word of mouth? Do you do any advertising?
Word of mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, Hamilton has a strong network here in D.C., really tapping into the.
I was at Vidalia before this, so.
Oh, you were at Vidalia. Yeah.
For almost 8 years. So kind of created a fan base, I guess you could say there.
Mhm.
So.
Peter, have you been to Prequel yet?
I've been to Prequel. I haven't been to Honeysuckle yet, but
He's the ultimate foodie.
I'm going.
And,
I'm going. Absolutely.
I'll see you there tonight, right?
Yeah, you know it, man. This is wonderful.
You get a book in my bathroom.
Yeah, if we bring you one of Bill's books, you can put it in the bathroom.
Now we're talking.
That's perfect.
All right. So what are you trying to do with Honeysuckle in terms of where on the whole range of possible, food choices are you? Is this
Right now
Southern?
it's Southern, contemporary Southern. Taking somewhat, I guess, familiar ingredients and kind of playing with the textures and taste and presentation, just so it's not so. It's still familiar, but it's more refined. and it's doing flavor combinations where it's like, wow, that's cool. I didn't see that coming.
Give us a couple of examples of like some of your entrees that are you think are pretty
entrees.
creative.
We have a seared sea scallop with fried pork head fritter with pickled cranberries, Brussels sprouts. We have spiced duck breast with popcorn fondue, oyster mushrooms, a thyme sauce. We have quail stuffed with foie gras with oyster cream sauce. We have the oyster stew that you're having right now.
One of the interesting things about Southern cooking is like people who aren't that familiar with it, right? They have this presumption that it's
heavy,
real porky or heavy or fried vegetables and things like that.
Everything covered in gravy.
Yeah, exactly. Which you can get that if you want it, but like some of the
barbecue
or barbecue. But a lot of the cooking and the ingredients, I mean, the vegetables that grow in the South are amazing.
A lot of local,
Yeah, and like if you like in the right hands, in the hands of someone like Hamilton, you can take Southern ingredients and really turn it into something special.
Yeah, like farm to table has been going on before it was a thing. I guess you could.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. Farm to table. It's farm to table everywhere in the South.
Right.
For the most part.
Right.
It's
It's always been. It's always been that way, right?
Farm to table.
What do chefs make? How much money do chefs make?
Depends on.
What kind of food he makes.
What kind of food you make.
Yeah, I guess so. But
depends on how good it is.
I mean, you see these guys in this kitchen. It's a lot of work.
It's
man.
a lot of work.
And
it also
more and more
depends
they have these open kitchens so you can watch them. And man, they're.
And whether it's a hotel,
Yeah.
hotel's different from single owner.
It's one of my favorite things in the world, though, to see what's going on in the kitchen, especially one that is operating at a high level, right?
Right.
Of just watching those movements, right? It's a dance.
These guys are making like a living wage. Obviously, they love their work.
Some are. It just depends on the scenario that you're in. But it's also the love for what you do.
Yeah.
Even if you're not, you still love it. You still come back every day, no matter what kind of night you had.
You have to
tomorrow's a new day.
Factor that in, Steve. I'm sure with the amount of money you're raising, right? Is what you're going to pay your waiters and waitresses, your wait staff and managers and all that.
Well, and it's an interesting experience opening Prequel as Equity Eats, because my background's actually in health policy, so I was working a lot on the Affordable Care Act. I was a big advocate of the exchanges, and then as a small business owner, we had to enroll in the exchanges and make those decisions for employees to have insurance, and so it's one of those things that we thought about when we opened Prequel, and we had to know as Equity Eats what it's like to operate a restaurant and really know what those decisions are and the pain points, and that's going to allow us to really help chefs as they come on the platform, and we learn from them as well, really taking all that qualitative and quantitative data from them and being able to share it with new chefs. And I think one of the best things about Equity Eats is that we bring chefs together to learn from each other, to help each other out. And also, in their modeling, they'll include, a salary for themselves, but you also want to be, fair to investors and, not have an exorbitant salary as well. So there's all transparency throughout.
You don't pay them that great big salary until you're sure the restaurant is making a lot of money here. We're going to take a quick break and come back. We're here with Hamilton Johnson and Steve Lucas from Prequel DC and Honeysuckle Restaurant. Prequel is PREQUELDC.com. Check it out and find out more about how they go about it. I want to talk to you whether other people in other parts of the country are doing this when we come back. Bill Press Show. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To
not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us
all of us to stop sexual assault. Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Hey, Free Speech TV world, it's Mama and the Mooks here at the Stephanie Miller Show.
Hello. Good morning.
You know, Seinfeld was about nothing. I think the Stephanie Miller Show is about everything.
A little bit
isn't it?
everything.
Yeah, a
It's
little bit.
kind of everything like thrown into a blender and we hit frappe.
Right.
With wine poured in.
Right. Senators, fart jokes, politics, pop culture, entertainment.
Drinking.
Drinking. Random stray thoughts. It's what all the hip kids are talking about.
Yep.
We have the smartest, funniest people in the country on this show, do we not?
We absolutely do.
Right?
And our sexy liberal army of callers call in every day to tell us all about it.
There you go. And some right-wingers that Travis particularly enjoys talking to.
They're my favorites.
Okay. You can watch us every weekday from 9 to noon Eastern or 6 to 9 Pacific, which is really early. But we still, we try to, we're still pulling in people like Rob Reiner, Lily Tomlin, Frangela, you name it. You can only get it here at the Stephanie Miller Show. Mama, Mooks, fancy celebrities.
And everything.
And fart jokes.
Free Speech TV.
Tune into Free Speech TV for Democracy Now!, a national, independent, award-winning news program bringing you people and perspectives rarely seen on corporate media.
This is the Bill Press Show.
11 minutes before the top of the hour, here we are talking food and some great new food opportunities. Hamilton Johnson's a chef at Honeysuckle, his new pop-up restaurant as part of Prequel DC. Steve Lucas is a co-founder of Equity Eats, which is, I guess, an owner of Prequel DC. Mm-hmm. Hamilton, how'd you get started cooking as a chef?
Well, my mom and dad. My dad was more, southern rustic biscuits and gravy. Mom was more, she would get these crazy recipes and try them, and it's kind of like those two together. And I was an artist, drew a lot. So I was going to go to Savannah School of Art and Design, but decided I was like, I'm going to cook.
Did you go to the CIA?
No, I went to Johnson Wales University in Charleston. It's now moved to Charlotte. So, but it was in Charleston for a few years.
And is Anthony Bourdain your hero, your role model? Have you learned a lot from him?
He's a personality for sure. I've definitely read his books. I'm a fan. I am a fan. So I had the chance of meeting him at the Capitol Food Fight a few years ago. We did here.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually won with me and Jeff Boobin from Vidalian.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
Oh, you won.
Yeah. We got to hang out in the green room, I guess you could say. There's books in there, too.
He's been a guest in our studio a couple of times.
Cool.
Yeah. Thanks to Peter brought him in. That's before he was already a superstar, but not as big as he is now with the CNN show. Right. Right. So you've traveled around the country a little bit. Is other parts of the country doing this to help new restaurants get started and chefs get their own place?
Yeah. So really,
it's tough.
Equity Eats is
terrifying.
Equity Eats is
that's the word.
So obviously there's chefs raising money for their own restaurants across the country. It's a huge industry. It's not slowing down. If anything, it's growing. But in terms of crowdfunding, Equity Eats is the only crowdfunding platform really focused on food and beverage businesses. And a lot of people ask us, you're navigating all these regulations. There's the Jobs Act that's still, in the SEC's hands that we haven't finalized. All of these really complicated things that we're dealing with. Why just focus on one industry? But it does come back to that local investment piece. For chefs, you can open with hundreds of loyal customers. For investors, you have the protections afforded to you by a company like us to sort of help broker a fair deal to both investors and entrepreneurs. align the incentives, and make sure that it's a good business deal for both people. But yeah, I mean, across the country, we're the only ones doing this. And until recently, we were geographically limited.
All the more reason to check out Prequel, Prequel DC, PrequelDC.com. So I'm curious. So you're the chef, you're the head chef, you're in the kitchen. How many sous chefs do you have?
Right now, it's just I have some line cooks who
Cooks.
I would like to groom into that role of sous chef once we
Does a line cook mean they only cook like one thing?
Not necessarily. They should be able to cook everything in every station. More like a chef de partie, which is chef of that station.
Yeah.
But we want to rotate each station so everyone can do everything. So
Everyone can.
It's not so limited.
Okay.
And that's another way for them to learn more techniques and how to cook.
And you oversee the whole thing.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And do you personally review every plate before it goes out?
Right. I cook on the line with them. I'm cooking beside, I'm plating, I'm tasting, everyone's tasting, finish the last touches before it goes to the table.
Before the wait staff takes it out to the stable, you take a look?
I touch every plate. Yeah.
Is that right?
Correct.
Wow. Is that true of every restaurant?
Probably not.
It should be. It should be.
Well, it should be, right. Yeah. I just always often wonder.
It absolutely should be, yeah.
How much of a, sort of an assembly line operation is it, or how much is really
There's definitely
personal?
lots of systems and lots of homes for everything. There's a system for everything from the, where you put the salt and pepper on your station to where you put your pan of sear your duck and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it should be the same way every day. That way you get into that routine, so nothing changes.
Well, you've taken on a huge project here. I think that's very exciting and very, very brave of you. Best of luck.
Thank you.
If people want to become an investor, to go to Prequel, right? PrequelDCagain.com.
So to invest, they would go to EquityEats.com.
Okay, EquityEats.com.
And honeysuckledc.com is the website as well.
HoneysuckleDC.com. There you go. You can find them one way or the other. Thanks so much for coming in, gentlemen, and thank you for the oyster stew.
My pleasure.
What a way
Thank
to
you
start
so
the day. Man. Hamilton Johnson and Steve Lucas. Thank you, guys. I'll be back with a quick parting shot.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Yes, one story got lost in all the debate coverage this week. You mentioned it just a little bit earlier, but it's so important and worth remembering that out in Milwaukee, for the first time ever, a gun shop was held liable by a court for selling a gun to somebody who had no right to own it. This was an 18-year-old, a straw purchase. Somebody bought the gun for him, but you could clearly see what was happening on the videotape. 7 days later, the kid took that gun and shot 2 police officers. The jury found him and the gun store also both guilty. Hopefully there'll be more lawsuits like this one against those who sell guns. And let this serve as a warning also to gun manufacturers. Those who make the guns will be coming after you next. That's my parting shot for today, folks. Thanks for being with us today. Clinton Yates in tomorrow as a friend of Bill. Come back for Clinton because we'll be looking for him.
This is the Bill Press Show.